Hello, and welcome to Episode 3, or Session 3 of the Tainted Lands, Shadows of the City. My name is RJ Cresswell, and I'm the Dungeon Master. Before we get into tonight's play, let's take a moment and meet everyone. Just tell us who you are and what character you're playing tonight. We will start with Jess.
Alright, I'm Jess. I play Lofwyn, or short form Wyn. She is a high elf, druid barbarian.
All right. Lewis.
Hello, my name's Lewis. I play as Wallace MacDonald, who is Trickery Cleric.
All right. Kristen.
Hello, I'm Kristen. I played Toby, the Rock Gnome Warlock.
Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric, having a little fun in the corner with my tablet screen. And I play Sir Cadron Lorna, the super serious paladin.
All right. And then Shondale.
Hello, I play Junie Axehand, a half wood elf fighter.
All right. So, during last session, your characters left Leechfield and traveled into the city of Black Sands after having fought the swamp creature in the moorlands and harvesting the fungus for Harwin the Bloodletter. You met Harwin in the Chapel of Tomes after that, Chapel of Tomes being this domed library dedicated to and run by the clerics of the Archivist. It's in the Black Castle district. After you delivered the fungus, Harwin made good on his promise to enlighten Wallace with information about the Rune Hammer, a dwarven artifact that seems to have been lost in the caverns of an ancient white dragon across the maw on World's End. After meeting with Harwin, you left the chapel but made plans to return the next day for research. You found an upscale inn, and in spite of being greeted by a snooty host, you managed to enjoy a luxurious respite from the hardships of adventuring life. The next morning, you fed on market fare and even met with a tailor to commission some nicer clothes. After that, you returned to the Chapel of Tomes and began your research. Wallace was attacked by a cloaked figure, but the party joined in and forced the assailant to flee, and it escaped by throwing 3 dark spheres against the ground. They shattered and filled the area with darkness, and 3 creatures of shadow surrounded and attacked Sir Kay. You fought for your lives and managed to destroy them, and that is where we resume our story. The last creature falls as it moves through a radiant beam of moonlight that seems to burn it, its form discorporating into shadows that are drawn across the floor into other shadows, those shadows absorbing them, leaving no remnants of proof of its existence. After the din of battle, the Chapel of Tomes is silent, save for the rustling sound of loosened leaves of paper falling to the floor through motes of dust and blades of sunlight that cut through the air from the glass dome above. You look around and see that none of your compatriots have fallen, but Sir Kay has several lacerations and is bleeding on the library floor. Wallace is also bleeding, and he looks pale as he clutches a few festering wounds. What do your characters do?
See, by the way, guys, this wasn't even my fault this time. And I'm just gonna kind of lean against that bookshelf and sit down.
I just
Sorry.
sit down. Hearing it echo was kind of funny. I just sit down in the middle of the floor, and I'm pretty sure the weird shadow things were dealing psychic damage last time. So I just sort of put my head down between my knees as much as I can despite wearing armor, and it looks like I'm just trying to get rid of the bed spins.
Alright.
Alright, Wyn will heal Sir Kay.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna need that.
Level 2 Cure Light, or Cure Wounds.
All right, for how many points?
I'm sorry, my computer's being a little slow. 11 points.
Okay.
All right. So wind comes down, heals Sir Kay. Shondell, I believe that you were kind of like a level or two up, and you had been attacking by archery.
Yeah. I'm gonna come downstairs, and seeing as how I can't really help heal or anything, I'm gonna actually start putting the library back together.
Okay. Now, just to weigh in there, now a lot of the action that took place was fairly localized. There wasn't a lot of area of effect type stuff that completely destroyed the library. However, there was Wynn's moonbeam that was kind of like cast down, in this big column of light or whatever, and these creatures were just kind of like all circling around Sir Kay in this shadow for a while, and there were several tables kind of like in that area where patrons had been doing research, and that's kind of like the biggest area of concern, like for damage and stuff like that, is tables have been knocked, probably a couple of chairs are broken, and then these books or whatever that were kind of like sitting there. Like I said in the beginning, you just kind of like start the scene right after the last shadow creature discorporating, with just like these pages just kind of like falling to the floor from where they had kind of like been destroyed through the action and stuff like that. So Junie starts making some attempt to just kind of straighten up or collect.
Pretty much, yeah. Like
collect.
Put all the tables and chairs are still intact in their proper position. Collect papers that may have like flown about. Pick up the books and try to put them back on the shelf. Like she can't really do anything else with she can't heal. She doesn't have anything to give anybody, so she's just gonna clean up. And also. Her professor nature, her love of library, is she's just like in shock. Like the library's in disarray. This can't happen. This can't be. Never mind her compatriots. The library's a mess.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we're all messes already, anyways. It's fine.
Yeah, I tried to clean that up. Didn't work.
All right, Kristen. So Toby had been upstairs, but when all of this began to happen, you had Toby, kind of run down the stairs and begin trying to help people, or at least, telling them to get down or stay out of the way and stuff like that. And then I think towards the mid of the battle or whatever, Toby began to. I think started with casting some mage armor on himself, and then began like shooting some Eldritch Blast or whatever. So I believe you were on the bottom floor of the library now, probably at a greater distance than some of the others, but you're there now in the aftermath of the battle. What do you think Toby would be doing?
Well, he's actually gonna go and check on Wallace after everyone maybe out, and he's checking on a couple people. He's gonna go over and check on Wallace, and hopefully notice this, because I think you got like shanked pretty much to kick everything off. So he's gonna look for some like arcane like wound on him. Like he probably didn't recognize these people, but like recognize them as magical and like powerful in that sense. So just wanting to research how he's doing.
Okay, all right. So Toby goes over to Wallace, seeing that Sir Kay is being attended to by Wynn, who is seemingly, casting some sort of healing magics upon him. When you go over to check on Wallace, I think he was leaning against a bookshelf, and as I mentioned at the start, he has a very, kind of like pale, pallid, just deathly look about his face. He doesn't look good at all. He is seriously injured. And as you look, like I said, he's holding a couple of wounds. I think he had been, as you mentioned, kind of shanked in his side a couple of times. But as you're kind of like looking at it, the wounds are festering. Like they look nasty. They don't look like just a cut in the side. And as you're kind of like helping him out, and you have him pull his hand away or whatever, there's not just blood like on his hand, but there's just kind of like this viscous sort of like yellow substance there as well. Stinks. And Lewis, I should tell you that as Wallace was experiencing this, the pain, he's, I think, been stabbed before. There was that pain, to be sure, kind of like the sharp pressure, but in addition to that, these wounds, as he was injured, they just felt like this searing, pain, in them. So you're aware that when you were kind of like battling with him, battling with this cloaked figure, that he wasn't just causing you injury with a blade. There was something else on top of it. You were shrugging off its effects as best as you could, but you're almost certain that you're poisoned, or you had been poisoned.
Can I do like medicine or arcana to try to detect what kind of poison was used, or? Sure.
Why don't we do... Probably not arcana. Sure, go ahead with medicine.
Okay. Yeah, natural one.
Natural one? Okay. All right. Well, as Toby's kind of like examining the wound, he definitely understands that this is some kind of poisonous substance that was probably I can't remember. I think Toby saw that there was a cloaked figure escaping. The cloaked figure not being the same as the shadow creatures that attacked right after that. So you would assume that whatever that cloaked figure was had its blades coated with some kind of poisonous substance. But you're smelling it. It smells foul. Like I said, it's sort of this viscous yellowy substance that just appears to be kind of like oozing from the wound. It was on Wallace's hand as he pulled it away, but you have no idea what it could be beyond the poison.
Tell Wallace to bite on something real quick, and I don't know, hand him one of the books to bite on.
No, not the book.
Yeah, you just
Not that hard.
Kristen, give me a percentile roll.
Hey, me.
No, Kristen.
12.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
Duly noted. All right. So Toby comes over, Lewis, to Wallace and begins examining Wallace's wounds. Kind of like looks at the substance that was on your hands, and then just kind of like reaches over to a table, to the bookshelf that you're leaning on, pulls off a book, hands it to you, and tells you to bite it.
Because I'm gonna want to get a sample of it. So.
Yeah, you'll just bite down on a book and kind of be like,
Yeah, just take 1 second, and get a little sample.
Okay. All right. Tell me what that looks like, Kristen. How does Toby collect a sample?
Well, he picked up a couple vials, empty vials, so he just grabs one out, and then I imagine the wound is pretty open and exposed, and like you said, oozing, and so he's just gonna kind of take the vial and scrape it across the wound, so won't be extremely painful, I'm sure, for Wallace, but not pleasant. So
yeah. So most certainly it's not as painful as getting stabbed and poisoned, but it's definitely not a pleasant sensation as Toby is collecting this sample of this viscous yellow substance from his side. Now as you've all kind of like done these things, before we go much further, the patrons in the library, as you're kind of like looking around, are pretty much stunned and in shock almost, as they're just kind of like staring towards you. This just few moments or possibly minutes right after this strange and supernatural sort of occurrence that happened. In that amount of time, as people are just kind of like stunned at what just went on, why don't you role play the interactions of your characters and what you would be saying about this? I know Wallace started off with, "You see, it wasn't even my fault this time," or something like that. But beyond that, what would your characters say or think or do regarding this? What just happened?
See the room that I was in? That was like, that would be probably like behind me right now, eh? And like people are like sort of out. I'd like kind of point to the door, and I'd just be like, "Do not go in there." And I'm just gonna look to like this big stab wound probably around near my kidney. It's like all minging and stuff, and I'm just gonna like kind of barf a bit and then like swallow it, like wipe my mouth with a page of a book or something. Same one that I was biting.
Are you doing okay there, Wallace?
I've seen better days, to be honest with you.
I'm just kind of lumber over, like, that really doesn't look good. Just like motioning to his wound.
Junie's gonna make sure that if there's any papers around Wallace, that she picks them up immediately so that no blood gets on them. That is Junie's priority.
Okay. All right.
Just
so
saying.
Jenny's doing that.
Yeah. Toby's just gonna like swish it around like in the vial and is like, "Yeah, it doesn't look good, but I don't know what it is. Do you know what this is?"
I'm gonna take the vial, and I'm gonna give it a wee sniff.
Oh, I was like, please don't drink it. I will sit on that.
And I'm gonna give it back.
Right.
Okay.
So, Toby, you have a sample of it?
Yeah, and like tries to put it as close to your face. It's good, but he's so short.
Good. Bite the book again, would you, Wallace? And I'm just gonna walk over.
At this point is like it's like a sandwich, you know, when you take a bite out of it.
Yep. Once he puts the book back in his mouth, I'm just gonna say, like, okay, watch the dancing lights, and I'm gonna cast dancing lights and just have them, like, dance a little pattern behind me. And while he's doing that, I'm effectively gonna, like, push my 5 fingertips into the wound as my lay on hands. And effectively, like, you're gonna see him draw the hand back out, and all the poison from his bloodstream is gonna be contained within 5 little points of light at the tips of his fingers. And he's just gonna flick it away.
I'm just gonna scream pineapples when you start doing that.
This is a safe word. And then I will. What are you at right now, Wallace? How bad are you? Are you below 10?
Yes, I'm on 7 hit points.
You're on 7? Okay, I'll give you 10 out of lay on hands. So I'm down 15 total. 5 for the poison, 10 for the HP.
After that happens, it's kind of like in Shrek when he gets like the arrow taken out of him. He's just like, "Ow! Can we have a bit of a word where people aren't like looking at us like we're really weird, please? Because I feel uncomfortable."
I'm just gonna look at Wallace and just say, "You just got stabbed in a library, and you don't think that's weird?"
I mean, it's weird, but I don't like the way people are looking at me, and I'm gonna look over to like some random inconspicuous person that probably wasn't even looking at me, and I'm gonna be like that.
Actually, good point.
They look away quickly.
Are there any witnesses? And I'm just kind of turning to the crowd.
About that moment, when you say, "Are there any witnesses?" Wallace, just kind of like almost seemingly out of nowhere, a figure, a kind of squat figure, a man in spectacles, in the vestments of the archivist, is kind of right beside you, and then he's taking the book from your hands and looking at it, and looks at you and says, "Can you please not do this? This is a first edition of Lumer's Codex. Not many of them exist."
Not many of him exist, and I'm just going to gesture to Wallace.
Yeah, I'm a first edition Hill Dwarf, stabbed and poisoned in your library, and I don't feel very good. Do you have, like, I don't know, juice or something?
Juice.
You can sit down and please tell me what happened here.
I came in basically to look at some records, went into a wee room. Next thing I know, I've been stabbed. There's shadow hangs everywhere, and I bet your book, mate. And that's all there is really to it. It's kind of went all fast for me, but I think I know what's going on here. I'm really sorry about that book, by the way, and I'm going to ask Kate to pass me the bag of holding.
Pass over the bag of holding.
I pull out a couple of donuts and I give them to him.
You try to hand him a couple of donuts from the bag of holding? Is that...
Yeah.
They're still fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Got them like 2 hours before.
Forgot we had those actually.
All right, as you go to hand him, he'll put his hand up. He's holding, the book in the other hand, kind of looking at it, at these kind of like indentations of teeth in the, kind of like leather binding on it. No, thank you. I just ate. You were attacked in our library.
Can confirm it. We were both attacked.
No, I
When
saw.
tried to stop-
do we need to like give a statement or something? Because I kind of know who. The person I was looking for, basically there's loads of stuff going on and we don't really like each other, but he now pretty much knows that we're on his trail. So any help from you guys would really be great, It's-
I mean, I don't understand. What does that have to do with the Chapel of Tomes?
His
Well,
ex-lover has gotten a little bit overzealous in cutting him out of their life, shall we say.
He wasn't my lover, and I'm gonna like pick up a random drink on the table. Don't really care what it is, even if it was like one of.
All right. So you cut out a little bit, but you took a drink. Just kind of like. All right. All right. Should you report this? Yes, I would think anyone who is attacked should see the city guard and report it. Now, I am still failing to understand how this happened in the library. But I did see those things, those shadowy monsters, whatever they were. And I saw you dealing with them.
Yes, they were summoned by his attacker as a distraction to escape, unfortunately. And it worked.
You seen any weird, creepy guys hanging about the library?
Besides him.
Except, yeah.
I can't say that I have. I unfortunately no longer really deal with many people, as I'm more administrative in my function here.
I want to inside check this man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I want to try to see if he's telling the truth.
Oh, give me a second.
Just let me know what you got, Kristen, on your insight roll.
Oh, heh. I'm going to put that dice away. Oh, natural 20, so 21.
Natural 20.
I went from a 1 to a 20.
Okay. You are looking at this individual, and like I said earlier, he's kind of a squat man, spectacles. He's wearing vestments of the archivist, and you're looking at him and kind of like looking around at, the docents that are just kind of like, you've seen them here, kind of like helping people. He appears to be in nicer vestments than they're wearing. And as you're talking to him, there doesn't really seem to be anything suspicious that he's saying. You don't have a problem believing that he's some kind of administrator within, the library. He doesn't appear to seem as though he's like hiding anything.
Well, I'm gonna accuse him anyway.
All right. How does that look? What does Toby say?
Well, he's just like saying how he hasn't seen those before, and Toby's like, "You haven't? Are you sure?" He's just very like anything he says, Toby will say the opposite.
Okay.
I imagine Toby like slowly getting up, like even though Toby's like really short, but attempting with all of his might to get right up in this guy's face.
Yeah, maybe like standing on a chair.
Sure.
I'm imagining like Elmer Fudd pretending to be a detective.
Right.
Yeah.
As Judy's still scurrying around, or well, I guess really not scurrying. She's taking her sweet time because it's a library. She's got to be very careful. She's overhearing this and overhears Toby kind of doubt this guy and be like, she's gonna be like, Toby, play nice.
He's a little scrappy do.
All right. So as Toby is doing this, again, I've mentioned it's kind of like this squat individual, but specifically a squat human man. That being said, he is still significantly taller than Toby. So Toby grabs this chair, climbs up on him, kind of like raises this accusatory finger at him, and you can see almost immediately he's kind of like taken aback, and he's like, "No, I had nothing to do with this. I mean, perhaps I'm first I'm appalled that something like this would happen in our library, and if you think perhaps we should send for the guards now and have them investigate this thoroughly. I had nothing to do with this at all whatsoever."
No.
Someone had to know we were here.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lean over to Toby and just say, "It's not really that hard. We're very conspicuous."
Yeah.
And I just sort of gesture to myself as like a 6 foot tall, broad-shouldered elf, half elf.
He's just gonna look
Could be
up
my fault.
and then look down, defeated. Oh yeah, he'll get off the chair.
I'm gonna ask what so like, are you like in charge here? What's your name?
I'm Badges. And
Badges,
yes,
well,
I'm the head librarian.
okay, well in that case, see if I cast. Does he know I'm casting?
Does he know you're casting it? I can't remember the text from the spell. I mean, I know if he fails his check, you know it, but I can't remember what else it says.
gonna
Check
look
the
it up.
materials on it. If it has a somatic or verbal component, it means you're going to be waving your hands and
Right. It will probably be pretty
so.
obvious you're casting a spell.
I'm getting the spell description up. Create a magical zone that guards against deception in a 50-foot radius sphere. Okay, it's V and S.
So that's verbal and
Verbal and
somatic. So
somatic.
you are chanting and you're, waving your hands around and stuff like that. And beyond that, Wallace knows in particularly that this individual is most certainly a cleric of the archivist, not really certain how powerful a cleric, but you'd be willing to bet that he possesses some magics of his own, so would kind of be aware of what was going on if you start casting a spell.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, look, I don't think there's any need to phone the guards, but I think we should all maybe go for a wee chat, because I've got a few questions that maybe some of your other docents will provide for me, seeing as you're in charge here.
I'm just going to put it out that it might be best if we actually do tell the guards, just because they might be able to, give us a bit more information about who it was that stabbed you.
Yes, and I'm afraid that I will have to contact the guards no matter what, as an attack occurred here today.
I also just pull out my holy symbol of the judge. You know, the dude that deals with keeping law. And I'm just like,
Right. Well, I mean, yes, that's
I'm more pointing that at Wallace than at Badgers.
okay.
I can't be bothered signing in forms today. I don't know if you've ever been stabbed by this, but it's not fun.
I'm sure Toby and or Junie would absolutely adore a bit of paperwork right now.
She just kind of like brightens up, like, yeah.
All right. So as you all are saying that, Badges will look at everyone and yes. Why don't you just have a seat and wait here? I mean, can I get you something? Some water, perhaps?
Have you got juice and biscuits?
Well,
And a dog, maybe? I need a dog.
I'm afraid we don't, but I could have someone bring you water if you're thirsty.
Yeah. Okay.
It would be appreciated.
Right.
Also,
And-
a pen and ink would be helpful as well.
Right. And he'll motion at the table. If you look at the tables, they'll be outfitted with, materials for conducting research. Some papers, some inkwells, quills, things like that.
Toby has that already out.
Sure.
He's got all the scholarly things.
Yes. So please just sit and make yourselves as comfortable as you can. I can tell that some of you are still quite injured. I will have one of the docents go and fetch a guard so that you can speak with him and you can give your statements and they can conduct any investigation that they need to. So please, just remain here. And he'll kind of like begin speaking to a couple of docents, and one will go away, and you'll see them leave the Chapel of Tomes. The other one that he was speaking to will return shortly with, kind of like a pitcher of water and a couple of copper mugs, and kind of like put them on the tables, and allow you to have water. Now, as you're waiting for this guard or whatever to come, or these guards to come. What are you saying to yourselves at the table? What's your plan from here? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna kind of ask Toby if I can dictate to him what I saw happen as like a semi-official report from the group.
He dabs his ink in and is like, fire away.
So, yeah, just something semi-official we can actually hand the guards and say, like, yeah, this is our story of what happened. And I'm just going to look at Wallace and say, right, so I'm assuming this has something to do with your entire scenario. How much do you want to put in that paper?
Wallace has, since he's been given the water and Toby was writing at that note over the past talking to himself, or what appears to be talking to himself, he's got like his bone pipes in his teeth. He's like kind of like biting at them, like across a bit, almost like nervously, and he's like talking and whispering, but like this is the first time we've actually heard him. And he's sitting saying, no, don't worry, they can't hear. Don't, it's fine, we're fine, you're fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then when you say that to him, he kind of like, it's like a snap back to reality and goes, no, yeah, sure, go on.
Should I write what he just said?
I think we can leave out any of the usual filler, I think. Somewhat official.
Just paraphrase it, Toby.
I wish I still had my second level spell slot. I could use Calm Emotions on Wallace. Anyways, I'm just gonna say, Wallace, something happened to you in that room. How much of it do you want to go into the paper we're gonna give the guards? You tell Toby exactly what you wanted to say.
Well, I was in the room, obviously looked like a person being there. I don't particularly want to say. We'll just say an old friend. And whilst I was doing that, I got stabbed.
Okay. Guards are most likely going to ask if you have any enemies and who would want you dead.
Oh, yeah, hold on. I'm
So
gonna
do we...
a kind of minging bit of paper out of the back of my pocket, and I'm just gonna like a big bunch of names. I'm gonna be like, there's Lilith, Durgon, the Bold, Felly, Kelly and the Bard, but that's scribbled out. Ragnar, yeah, and I'm gonna like slop it on the table, and it's like, you know that noise that like when it, like a
Yep.
like, and it's all like mouldy and like some of the ink's like smeared across, and it's just like loads of names that of all the people I've annoyed. You know, like guy outside the Tower of the Isles, that his wife was dead. Just like any person I might have like annoyed in the slightest. Like, Junie's on the list several times. Like I've rewritten her name just like.
You know, I figured there'd be a list. I didn't think there would be a literal list. That's... Right.
The things you do and watch, yeah.
So a lot of people are naturally inclined to be upset with you. That is good to know.
Mm.
So, before the guards get here, and I'm going to lower my voice a little bit, and like we're going to kind of be whispering at this point. What actually happened?
Literally what I said. I was looking to see Ragnar's name. I wanted to find out the date he was here. And I wanted to know if he looked at the particular book that Harwin showed us that had the page ripped out of the map to go to that place with the dragon. Because I had a feeling, I mean, it seemed to me that would be his intention if they're showing us that book. And that's why I want to talk to that badger guy, because I feel like, I don't know, I have spells I can cast, but it'd be far too obvious for me to do it without him knowing. While I was looking through these records, they basically just slapped a wad of paper. And what race was it? Was it a half orc, did you say, or an orc that attacked me?
I mean, you probably, given that it was a little dark in there and that the figure was very much cloaked, it was a bigger person. You're not really sure if it was an orc or half orc, but just kind of like within the bit of light that you caught, I mean, you saw, a tusk here and there, and you don't really know. But you're assuming that the figure was orcish.
Yeah.
That being said, bugbears, hobgoblins, they also have, tusk and stuff as well, So, under the circumstances, you could have mistaken it for that, but it appeared to be more like an orc to you than some other creature.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. The tusks, that was all I could make out. He said to me, Ragnar sends his regards, which means they know that we're here at least.
Give me an intelligence check. Just a straight intelligence roll, plus or minus any modifiers that may...
I'm looking up my intelligence modifier. I think it's minus. Yeah. So that's a 10.
A 10? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You recall speaking to Mari at the Leering Star, and one of the primary questions that you asked Mari was if Ragnar was traveling with anyone, to which they replied that Ragnar was traveling with a gnomish woman with auburn hair and an orcish fellow. A big orcish fellow.
Yeah. Do you remember when we were back in Morton? I went to speak with someone about this. Representative named Mary, and she told me that there was people travelling with Ragnar. I don't know if he's with a group of brigands now, but I mean, he mentioned a gnomish woman with kind of auburn hair and a large orc fellow. I have a feeling that might have been him.
If that's the case, does that mean that Ragnar's here?
Potentially. And if that's the case, I want to get him before he can leave the city. But then, we are in a pretty big city, and I don't intend to leave my next encounter with him with... Put it this way. Either I'm going to die, or he's going to die. And if you think I'm mental, you just wait. Trust me. He's not a good guy.
Kay just kind of goes quiet at the mention of the auburn-haired gnome. And after a little bit, he would kind of pep back up and just say, well, we can take this as a bad sign that someone wants to kill you, or we can take it as a good sign that we're on the right track enough to coax them into killing you.
Do you think we should, set a trap?
No. Well, I don't think you should set the trap. I think you should be the bait.
That's what I'm saying.
Personally, I think Junie should set the trap. Or Toby.
I'm all for setting a trap.
Really, just not you or I. Neither of us is smart enough to pull that.
I can set a trap. I've seen a section upstairs about how to set really good traps, so I can go grab a couple books. That's not a problem.
That would be a good idea.
We're going to be here a while until the guards get here, so...
All right. If you need me, I'll be upstairs. What kind of trap are we looking for?
I think I know
some more details.
They play dirty, so if there's any way we can play dirty back, then
okay. Let me rephrase the question. Where is the trap going to be set? Setting of said trap.
Somewhere not public, but somewhere where he knows we're gonna go.
I have a particular favorite tavern where we all have private rooms that they might be fairly adept at sneaking into.
All right.
Ooh.
I can do this.
Sorry. I got excited for a Lord of the Rings kind of they think we're in one room and we're in another.
In a completely different one.
Yeah.
Well, Kay is just going to be like, oh, why did I suggest that? I'm going to wind up hiding in a wardrobe.
All right. So you're talking at this table, and the conversation, goes from people who might have wanted to hurt Wallace to Wallace, saying, specifically, I know it was Ragnar. The person said Ragnar sends his regards. It was an orcish fellow. I remember Mari told me about, an orcish fellow that Ragnar was traveling with. Two, perhaps we should set some kind of trap for them, leading into Junie saying, I was kind of mentioned, or she mentioned that I saw a book with about traps upstairs, and then kind of volunteers to go up after getting a little bit more of information. Tentatively talking about setting a trap at, I'm assuming the Silver Pony that you've been staying at, recently. So... Junie will leave to go upstairs to kind of go look at the section that she had been looking at earlier regarding traps. And not long after that, a few guard will come in, returning with the docent who had been sent out to fetch them. And, you've seen the guards about town, and they're kind of in their, their outfit, no question as to whom they are. And there are three of them that come in. Two sort of standard looking, human fellows kind of begin and start, talking to docents. And one is a larger woman, kind of tall, broad-shouldered, and she kind of immediately begins speaking to Badges. You can tell, by looking, she just glances around as she enters and seeks him out, and then speaks with him briefly. You see Badges pointing back towards your group at the table, and they speak for a moment, and then she approaches your table, and as she does, she's holding kind of this leather-bound kind of journal in her hand, and you see that she has some kind of writing utensil, pencil or something like that. And Badges told me I should speak with you all about what happened here.
Yes,
He says
my name
that
is...
you were attacked. There was some kind of brawl. What happened here?
My name is Sir Cadron Lorinar, and my squire Watt here was attacked in an attempt to get at me, as far as I can tell. Unfortunately, the attacker got away. While I was off perusing the stacks of the library, my squire here was doing some research of his own, and within the room, the attacker went after him. I think they were attempting to possibly force a ransom out of me, but did not realize that Wallace here is quite an adept scrapper himself. And I'm kind of like throwing on a bit of the weariness because I haven't lost much blood, but I've got a splitting headache from that psychic damage, and I'm just kind of playing it up a little bit.
Right.
And upon the attacker's exit, they summoned 3 shadow beast creatures. I'm sure Banders mentioned them, and well, my compatriots and I were capable enough to deal with them, but the attacker got away. You can see we've actually written out a report for you as well, if you'd like to take that.
All right, I will.
I just want to say that's not what my report says. We didn't talk about him squiring at all.
Well, no. Kay
Unless
is
that's
just...
what you told me to write.
No. Kay wouldn't have told you to write any of that. Kay is just announcing it and assuming, like, making it seem like he's assuming they're after him. Like, he's putting on the nightly bluster, like, oh yeah, I have to be the target of this. I'm the most important person in the room.
Oh, if you have me
He's
over anything that I've written, then it does not say that.
he's playing up the arrogance a lot, where it's like he's kind of forcing her to accept the details, but realizing that she has to take it with a grain of salt because he's an arrogant bastard.
Right. Okay.
So, right. Trying to play it up like if there's discrepancies in the report, it's going to be like one of you being smarter than my ego.
All right. So, first, I'll have you roll a deception check.
Sure, why not? Ooh, 24.
24? Okay.
Nice.
Not bad.
All right. As you're speaking, she's writing things down in her journal. And who do you think would want to harm you? You said your name is Sir Cadron Lorinar?
Yes, ma'am. Well, to be frank, I earned my knighthood breaking bandit camps on the roads, and my Squire Wallace here has travelled for quite a time before he met me, so I assume through your adventures you must have had your own enemies as well, so it's a bit difficult to pinpoint at the moment. We were attempting to collate our most likely choices when you arrived.
I understand. And you said shadow creatures. What can you tell me more about these shadow creatures?
They look like a shadow.
They were summoned in an area of darkness. It was something akin to 3 glass orbs that were thrown and the darkness spilled out of them. I was unfortunately caught in the middle of the cloud, and then they started attacking. We didn't realize there were 3 individual creatures until the cloud was dispelled by the quick thinking of Wallace, and we quickly dispatched them afterwards, but it was a bit disturbing. You'll see, and like I'll just show her, like, I don't really have any cuts or anything, and I'll just say they were tearing through me with their claws, but instead of dealing physical damage, all I could hear was racking screams in my mind and a lot of pain, so apparently they attack people's minds instead of their bodies, as best as I can see.
I'm just gonna lift up my robe to expose, you can imagine what Wallace's stomach like, and like just show like the kind of closed up like wound that he's got from being stabbed.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be like that, pointing at it.
All right. And she's kind of like looking at the two of you, continuing to make notes. And, all right, well, what you've said seems to be corroborated by badges, but I may have questions. I mean, fortunately, no one seems to have been injured here except for possibly these creatures, and good on you for that. And luckily also there's not too much damage, but I may have questions. Where can I find you?
Kate would know the name of the inn, but I forget it at the moment.
The Silver Pony. Yes.
Silver Pony.
Silver Pony.
All right. All right. Well, unless any of you have anything else to add, I will take your statement. And he looks towards Toby and the materials that Toby has in front of him. I'll take your statement, and we'll continue to investigate further. As I said, if I have any more questions, I will follow up with you at the Silver Pony.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else have anything they would like to add to this? All right. So, she will take the materials from Toby, and you will. I mean, she walks away. She will go to other patrons that are within there, and get their accounts. You think, as well. You see the other couple of guards that are with her are kind of like going around from docent to patron, etc. Also seeming to take small interviews about what went on, collecting notes all the while. So she didn't detain you or anything like that. As she was leaving, I'm sure she would have told you you're free to go. Just don't leave the city. That's about it.
Don't skip town.
Yeah, don't skip town. Now, that being said, what do your characters want to do from here?
Probably researching the trap, right?
Yeah, Junie
has Junie come back there?
Is there like a quiet booth or something we could sit in? So like, because I'm very wary. I mean, I just got stabbed in a library. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, where there's one, there might be more people like watching us.
Okay, so a couple of things. I heard a couple of things. One, Kristen said probably researching the trap, and yes, Shondell had gone up to get a couple of books, and I'm sure she will return. She probably didn't return as the guard was speaking with you all, but shortly thereafter. To Jess, you said something. What was that about?
Yeah, I was just asking if Junie had come back.
Okay.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite.
She will shortly, though. And then, Lewis, you were saying something as well. What was that?
Yeah, like if there's a quiet area that we could go to, because like obviously I've just been stabbed in a very public place, so it's not even as if like I don't really feel safe. And if we start like getting books, it'd be like, oh, how they probably have like agents there like watching us maybe.
Yeah, are they gonna like continue on as business as usual, or close it down for the day, or
a couple of things. You see that very much things are disrupted right now. No one appears to be trying to conduct any research except for your party, as Junie returns with a couple of books on traps, trap making, building traps, things like that. Everyone else is kind of like talking to guards, and the whole function of the library is disrupted kind of like right now after this, as guards are in here and people are busy talking to the guards and what have you.
I have a brilliant idea. See, I'm assuming everyone's back at this point, like, and we're like sitting at a table or something.
yeah.
Yeah, Junie would have come back down probably with like a couple books. Nothing too extensive, but a few.
Right. Do you guys remember that bard that done that really amazing rendition?
How could we forget?
Exactly. I think if we should get him in the Silver Pony doing a gig, and that's where we should set the trap.
I'm not following.
If we can lure him to a public place where he knows I'm going to be and where he thinks I'm going to be relaxed, i.e. a library, where I was completely unaware that he would attack me. I've been to the pub with this guy many a time. He knows when I'm having a drink, whatever's around me, whatever's important. If we can get Soren to get one, and I'm in that bar, he might send someone in a crowd to try and attack me. However, you guys will be there and will see it coming, and I won't get poisoned, we won't get attacked by shadow demons, and there'll probably be guards there.
Don't we have to backtrack to go get Soren? Was it a ways travel? Or...
to that tavern. But after we did that, he said he was going to turn his life around, so he might not be there anymore. And we don't know where he lives. I was just looking for a platinum piece to bankroll him, so...
Give me a sec.
You bankrolled your bard.
Yeah. Gotta invest in good artists, man.
Well, yeah, as maybe Wallace is giving this plan as an option, Toby's just gonna lean over to Junie and ask what she has found.
There's a couple. But we'll say that Junie and Toby have like a conversation about the most efficient type of trap that can be set and the tools that we'll need. It's really hard to actually research how to set traps because apparently there's like no actual set rules on how to set traps.
Well, Ragnar is no rat.
So, here's immediately what I thought. It's like Judy went through the trap section of the library and just found like battle tactics on one side and like hunting traps on the other. But accidentally picked all books from the hunting trap side.
No, not necessarily. Like, you know, trickery and stuff like that. Like, she's trying to, keeping the setting in mind, she tried to kind of think of all the types of ways that it could, he could be lured into the trap, and then how to actually set the trap to be lured into. So there's some play that could happen. So we're not just setting a rabbit trap or something. It's a bit more complex and sophisticated than that.
Right. So I'm assuming, Junie walks away kind of like knowing that she has sort of this sage, kind of like background where she's been a scholar, or what have you, prior to taking up the sword. She's got some ideas about how a library is arranged. She's going for, kind of several minutes as you're speaking with this guard, and, comes back with kind of like you were saying, Eric, she has, sort of like some battle tactics, but, more so she's got a couple of books, so-and-so's guide to, trapping bears or, trapping, the Alba or whatever. And it'll be just kind of like,
we're also going to say that to a degree she has maybe like a psychology books.
Well, I was going to say it'd probably be more like, something like Machiavelli or something like that, where it's more kind of like this, this psychology into your enemy and, things like that.
Depends on the route.
So more kind of like this work of philosophy or something like that. So she just brings back, kind of like a couple of things related to that. Now, before we go further with the trap thing, is anybody proficient in investigation?
Don't think so.
No.
I am.
What's your passive investigation?
Passive investigation 16.
16? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. As Junie is kind of like laying things about on the table, kind of like all these books that I just mentioned, no one actively really tried to investigate afterwards, but Toby has a really high, passive investigation. And just as his little inquisitive mind is kind of like darting from topic to topic, trying to focus on the topic at hand, setting traps. He's also kind of like glancing around at the mess and stuff like that. And he sees a trail of blood that appears to lead off farther from anywhere your party has ventured within the library.
Toby.
He still has like his like scholarly tools out, so he's just gonna write like a little note to Junie about that trail. Like, he doesn't want to cause a lot of attention or stir right now, so he's just gonna alert her to it.
Okay. So Junie receives this note.
Yes.
She glances around, I'm sure, and can kind of like pick up on droplets of blood leading away from where this skirmish took place.
Is it leading like in another place in the library, or like out?
It seems like it's leading towards the direction of the exit of the library.
Okay. Interesting. Just gonna. Yeah, I don't want to cause like attention, like draw attention to it or anything like that, because we have other things to focus on. But definitely keep in mind to try to follow it once we get out of it, because like I'm not gonna start following it right now and then like just stray away. I'm gonna make sure that I can try to keep an eye on it as we all leave as a group, and depending on where it goes, maybe then alert the rest of them or split up.
Yeah, like Toby's gonna write a note and just for maybe when we leave, but make it look like that we're writing notes about like the traps.
Passing notes like high schoolers.
There's a blood trail. Just
Where
like
did
high
that
school.
voice come from?
I don't know.
Do you want to try to track it? Yes, no? Circle one?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, Lord.
When we exit, or maybe cue to everybody else, like, let's maybe check out the inn, or like see the layout of the inn a little bit more. But yeah, for now we're just like trying to research as much as we can from the books.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you'll spend a little time doing that. Let's see. Junie, what's, in terms of your sage background, what proficiencies did that give you? Do you remember? Do you recall?
What do you mean?
Just tell me what you're proficient in. I guess it doesn't matter. Just tell me what you're proficient in terms of skills.
For the skills,
Yeah.
Arcana, Athletics, History, Insight, Intimidation, and Perception.
Okay. Even though this isn't quite history, you are kind of a bit of a researcher based on things that we've spoken about before. So let's just do a history roll. Even though you're not doing history, you're utilizing kind of like some research skills tangent to your studies in history. So just give me a history roll real quick.
Oh, that's crappy. That's 9.
Okay, all right. So as she's just kind of like quickly combing through the books, and I say quickly because Wallace is very nervous about being out in public in a place where he was just attacked, and he's kind of like made that clear. So she's trying to do this as quickly as possible. I mean, she comes up with like some general ideas about some traps that she might think would work in a public setting if given enough time and discretion to kind of like put it in force or whatever. So she comes up with a little bit of an idea, but there's like no real like genius thing that she walks with away from this. You know, she's kind of like a little bit more familiar with traps and possibly how to lay one for an opponent or something like that. You know, but again, no particularly brilliant ideas come about. You know, from this.
I tried. It's a bad day.
Yeah.
Haven't had
You're
enough
doing
coffee
your
yet.
best.
Need another cup of coffee is all.
All right. So, what would you want to do after spending some time researching this?
I guess we can
should-
head out.
But then, like, see when we're actually looking up traps, like, what kind of trap, like, what, like, see, like, in terms of mechanically how we're going to do this, and, like, just what the general plan is for an actual trap. What's the general consensus? Because we all need to be on, like, the same page with this. We can't wing a trap at the end.
That's definitely something that we do need to discuss, but do we need to discuss it right at the library? Because I think if we're planning on setting the trap in
Can you, you can't take books away from this, like, can you?
Nope.
Can that thing you do when you get a bit of paper and that would take hours as well.
I'm just gonna look at. Hold on, I have to look at my equipment. Oh, do I want to do this? Sorry, reading.
How dare you?
Yeah. I was
So-
I take it the game
When
plan
Wallace
for
says
that.
like, "Hey, can we take books with us?" I'm just gonna look at Toby and just ask if I can borrow the ink and quill and some paper.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I'm just gonna say, Junin, can you point out the passages that you need?
I feel like Toby has been writing that down the whole time.
Oh,
Like,
already
he's
been?
yeah, like they've been writing down.
Okay, then-
some ideas, but like in addition, like in the midst of that, like where he notices something, but yeah, has been writing notes.
Okay, never mind then. Toby's got it covered.
Yeah, certainly have some.
It's all good.
Now,
Um,
as you all are doing that, Wynn and Wallace in particular, I'm sure you will notice an elvish man will come closer to your table. He's wearing a purple robe with golden thread, carrying some tomes at his side. He wears this flat cap on his head, a Tudor kind of style cap, if you know what that is. And he's standing with a puzzled look on his face. And he just kind of turns his head to the side a bit and says, "Laughlin?" And
I
Laughlin
turned to look.
turns and sees her father standing near the table.
And I kind of freeze.
There's this really weird anime-esque moment where, like, you just see a silhouette of Kay appear behind her dad at the mention of her name when none of us know who he is. And there's like the
Sliding
hand.
over.
There's like the hand going to the greatsword for a quick second, and then he hears dad and just like, "Oh, sorry, excuse me," and steps past her dad like he was never intended to be threatening.
All right.
Hi.
What are you doing here? And what happened? And are you okay, child?
I am okay. A lot has happened.
Who are these people?
Uh,
I thought you were
these
leaving
are-
the city and traveling.
I did. Yes, I did. And I met up with these people, and we ended up having to come back to Black Sand.
You see Kay in the background next to Wallace, and he holds up the bag of holding and starts pulling out little pastries like they're popcorn and just watching.
I'm like that as well. Like Ken, both of our hands probably touching the bag of holding it.
It's like Drax in the background of the Peanuts.
All right. You had to return to Black Sands. Why so soon? I mean, I'm thrilled. Your mother will be quite thrilled. Certainly you must see her. How long have you been here? And why did you have to return?
Haven't been back long. Actually in the city just for a day, is it?
It's a couple of days now. One, outside the city, and then a night within the city.
Just got back inside the city yesterday.
So what brought you back, and why are you traveling with these nice people? And he looks a little bit skeptically.
Is he seriously throwing some shade right now?
Judy just like she was partially overhearing this conversation. She was like discussing things with Toby, and as soon as he's like these nice people, or how like very like slyly or whatever, condescendingly, she just kind of look up and start staring at him like, what's going on here?
Toby thinks he's being like genuine, so he's like, "Oh, that's nice."
Judy would like if Judy's looking up now, she'd probably see Kay gets that look on his face like he had dealing with the host at the inn. Like he's just about ready to start getting snarky, but he's not talking because he knows it's Wynn's dad.
Yeah, she's
siren.
Yeah, she's just gonna throw Kay a glance, like kind of like, hold it, you need to kind of calm down, that middle-aged Karen. Just calm her down. It's okay.
I'm so glad.
Is Wynn's dad good looking?
So how does Wynn respond to these questions from her father?
Lose everything. Everything. Where the fuck?
That was a good mic cut.
Yes.
So to answer my question, is Wynn's dad good looking?
He is. It's kind of hard. Well, no, it's not kind of hard to tell. He's. I don't want to say he's older. He appears to be older than Wynn. This is an elf we're talking about, though, so no telling how old he actually is. But I'd say he appears to be more kind of like a middle-aged elf, I guess. They're kind of like as he's talking to her, he smiles occasionally at the fact, he's puzzled considerably, and you pick up on that. But he'll smile, seeing his daughter being so close and back so soon, and you'll see kind of like crow's feet at the corner of his eyes and stuff like that. So he's a little older. He's he's not like a knock dead gorgeous fellow, but his looks are passably pleasing or what have you. So
he's an elf.
He is an elf. Yes.
Oh.
AKA totally Wallace's type.
Yeah. Hey boo.
Wallace is gonna go. I gotta go pee, and he's gonna walk.
All right.
So I went and ended up in the small town, and we had some issues there that we dealt with together, and
It's mostly Wynn, to be honest. She did quite a bit.
Alright.
and so Wallace there, since he's left, asked for some help, and it brought us back to Black Sands.
Yep, that's a whole story.
Seems legit.
All right. Well, I have many questions, I'm sure, and your mother will have many more. I'm certain. Again, you will have to come visit us. You may bring your friends if you like. Perhaps we could have a dinner or something. Where are you staying in town? And why didn't you come home?
We're staying at the Silver Pony. We kind of we've only been in town for like a night. We haven't exactly had the time to stop by anywhere. Sorry about that.
All right. He will just kind of nod, but not really say anything. All right. As you all are kind of there, again, Toby, with his passive investigation, will notice that he's carrying a couple of books, and it's just kind of like, it seems to be more about legend, lore, cryptozoology, things like that, you know. He's just carrying a few books like that.
Actually, I have a thought. We're staying at the Silver Pony. It's a fine place to eat. How about we treat you and your lovely wife to dinner? That way you can catch up with Win. We'll all get a good meal out of it, and we'll be able to settle in for the night afterwards, because we're still a bit grimy from the road. And we do have a few errands to run afterwards, I think. But meeting it back tonight might be a good place to talk.
All right, I'm sure your mother would be pleased. And he looks back towards Wen. So, dinner tonight, the Silver Pony.
We will be there.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, then.
Right, see, when I walked away, I'm gonna cast Disguise Self. Have any of you seen Paul O'Grady when he goes as a drag queen? It's like really, like, kind of like middle-aged, kind of like. Right, okay, basically, I look like Paul O'Grady, and I'm gonna come back. I've kind of gotten rid of the burn on my face, so I don't look as rough, and I look more like pretty. And I put my wee apron on, and I come back, and then it's like that man I feel like, and I kind of just like whistle over to like Kingy's dad, and then in the mention of the Silver Pony, I'll be like, dinner time, and I'm just gonna like walk past here, so like sort of like kind of like swing at my hips and that, and I'm gonna accidentally bump into Win's dad and be like, oops, sorry, but see while I'm doing that, can I try? You say that the books that he had were about like legends. Did you say?
Yeah, kind of like.
I'm assuming with a passive perception at 18, I'd be able to see that.
Oh yeah, sure, it's possible.
I want to try bump into him and steal a book, like one of the book about legends. I want to see what like he's reading up on and stuff.
Okay. All right, then give me a sleight of hand as you're kind of like, you know, doing this sort of dramatic sachet kind of thing beside him.
All in favor of locking Wallace in his room tonight during dinner.
No, because we lock him in a room alone. That's when the dude sneaks through the window and knifes him again.
Okay, then we need to do something.
I'm doing something. Right. That's a sleight of hand, which is
Not what I meant.
that's a 17 on that.
17.
In the morning, I'm recasting Feinsteed and getting him the Mastiff just to keep him
Alright.
occupied.
You're able to kind of like, you know, bump into him, and as you do that, you kind of like dislodge the middle book that he's carrying, and you're able to kind of like lift it with the other hand as you kind of like sashay past him, you know, in this sort of dramatic kind of fashion.
Please
Okay.
tell me
Yeah.
though that Wallace pulled off like the drag queen strut, like that he did that right.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, he
I've
was
got,
doing
like,
that.
like red lipstick like smeared in my face. Like
That
I
makes it a
rushed the
little.
pencil.
That makes it a little bit better. Little bit.
All right. And then with that, you know, Wynn's father, is kind of like walking away at that point, just sort of reiterating the, dinner tonight, the silver pony, as Wallace comes back, sachets by, lifts this book off of him, and he's, kind of like going back to the other side of the library past the patrons that are continuing to be interviewed by guards and what have you. Now, you get back to the table, and you find that this is a book on, legendary creatures. And as you're kind of like flipping through it, you notice that there is a section that is kind of like, it's got a scrap of paper kind of like wedged into it. And when you open it up, it is a section on this creature known as the Hollow Man of Middlefish. Now, that means nothing to you, but when... Let's give Wynn a second, or Jess a second.
The Hollow Man, you say?
Yeah. So, that means nothing to you, but Jess, Wynn would recognize the term of Middlefish. So this was the Hollow Man of Middlefish. Middlefish is kind of like the area that that Wynn grew up in within Black Sands. It's one of those sort of distinct wards, and it's kind of like a ward that is, there are some lower houses of nobility there. It's mostly, kind of like for other sort of professionals outside of nobility, your parents being kind of like sages of various kinds reside there. It's a nicer neighborhood, you might look at it as more of kind of like a, in terms of what we think about, kind of like a middle class sort of neighborhood or something like that, And again, this particular monster this creature that he was seemingly reading about was the Hollow Man of Middlefish, and you just kind of like read this, section on it, and you see that it's moves cloaked in shadow, and that there's darkness where its eyes should be, has elongated arms, a gray face, a sad-looking countenance, can apparently know people's secrets, things like that. And it's just a section of just kind of like basically this sort of creepypasta-esque kind of entry, about this sort of urban legend creature, and how, people seemingly, disappear, and it gets blamed on this creature known as the Hollow Man.
Okay. Okay, I don't think he's weird anymore. Oh well, it was worth doing.
Alright. Now, at this point, this is where we kind of like normally take our break. So perhaps let's take about a 10-minute break. I'm going to go make a decaf cup of coffee. And then we'll come back. And when we come back, you can let me know where you're going to go from here. We've got a couple of things. You have a tentative dinner with Laughlин's parents. You had mentioned setting a trap. There was also a blood trail. So you all can kind of like think about that and what you want to do from this point. And we'll break for about 10 minutes and return, and you can let me know. So let's meet back in about 10.
Sweet.
Okie dokie.
Cool. Okay.
All right, excellent. We're back then. So we just had a little 10-minute break. And before we left for the break, your characters were in the Chapel of Tomes, which is kind of like this library, sort of religious institution of a god known as the Archivist. And you had been there because you were doing some research, but as you were doing your research, Wallace was attacked by a would-be assassin, and that would-be assassin escaped by conjuring these 3 shadow-type monsters, which, kind of dealt a couple of you some grievous injuries, but you overcame them. And then in the aftermath of that, the guards came and just kind of questioned you about what went on, and the things that you said were corroborated by the head librarian of the Chapel of Tomes, and you've most recently just kind of been sitting around a table trying to come up with maybe a trap for luring this would-be assassin back to Wallace so that you can try to apprehend them. In addition to that, while you were at the table, kind of like doing this research, Wen's father approached the table and began speaking to Wen, and ultimately your group invited Wen's father and mother to come have dinner at the inn that you're staying at, the Silver Pony. And that seemed to please Wen's father, and he left. But as he was leaving, Lewis's character Wallace had kind of like walked away, disguised self, came back, and then sort of this like flamboyant outfit, sashayed past him, bumped into him, lifted one of the books that Wen's father was carrying, and discovered that that book was kind of like this book about lore and legend, and that in particular he had marked a section about the Hollow Man of Middlefish, Middlefish being a ward of the city where Wen grew up. And that's about the point that we took our break, and I said when we returned from break, you all would have a bit of a conversation and let me know where you want to go from here. One thing that I neglected to just say, just to kind of like remind you of that, was that Toby had also kind of spotted this blood trail leading out of the library, presumably from the assassin that had attacked and been attacked by you all. So, let's pick up here. You're at this table. You just finished speaking with Wallace about the book that he lifted from Wen's father. So, what's going on? Enter roleplay and let me know.
Oh. Your dad seems lovely, Wen. I'm really looking forward to this dinner.
Well, that's one of us.
I mean,
Bad.
at least we're getting the awkward why are you back in town out of the way in a nice setting.
True.
Little
That's true.
little family drama there, Win. Looked
Oh.
a little tense and hostile.
They want me to pursue the arcane studies, and that's not what feels right to me.
Uni isn't
So,
for everyone, man.
I can understand that.
I know
Not
absolutely
exactly,
nothing about magic, so I can kind of understand not wanting to study it.
We were
Yeah,
made
so-
to study it.
I left to go open a herbalist shop, and, well, yeah, that obviously didn't happen.
Do you want to do that in Morton?
Well, I
I
wasn't
mean-
specifically going to Mornton in particular for that, but I was planning to go somewhere and do it, and we ended up in Mornton.
You know, we really didn't think this through. Quite a bit of real estate just opened up in Morton. That could have been a great opportunity.
You should always go back.
Yeah, we can always go back. I'm going back. Win, you're more than welcome to join. So
Well, of course you're going back. You live there.
that's what I'm saying. Win is more than likely to tag along.
So I had a thought.
Uh-oh.
It's not one of the stupid ideas this time.
It doesn't matter. Every time you say you have a thought, I'm going to say, uh-oh.
Fair enough, I guess. I'm wondering if we should maybe ask around some of the less pleasant areas of town. See if anyone's noticed our friend, the possible orc/half-orc, skulking about.
We could do that.
There must be some sort of signs that, I mean, he slipped away, but, I mean, well, when we fought inside, I kind of stuck my thumbs in his eyes, and that caused a bit of bleeding. I'm pretty sure we all
No.
got some shot, but I can look for clues.
Sorry,
I mean,
Lewis, you kind of
no.
cut out for a bit. I got the... You stuck your thumbs in his eyes, probably caused a bit of bleeding, and then you kind of froze after that.
Yeah, I was basically saying let's split up clues, like a sign of where he might have went, because nobody disappears in a puff of smoke. It wasn't like it was like a teleport. He didn't dimension door or anything. It was more like, they got smoke grenaded and he ran away.
Junie's gonna kind of like nudge Toby and be like, should we say something or should we just investigate on our own? Type like.
You see that?
Not actually it's all gonna be like non-verbal, but like, should we say about the blood trail that we spied or that he spied? Like, should we say something? Should we just like not say anything?
Well, if we leave, then Toby wants to say something. He would like to follow up on it.
All right. Toby wants to say something.
Okay.
Toby found it, so I'm gonna let Toby take the lead on it.
Yeah. So Kristen, you very much heard Wallace, talking about there must be some kind of signs of where this person went. I know that I made him bleed. Essentially is what he was saying, which caused Junie to kind of like inquire of Toby. So, and then she's just looking at Toby now. Probably looking back towards Wallace.
Well, he'll try to like, okay, well, let's go somewhere else. Let's go back to the inn, and if everyone wants to get out of the library, then he'll point it out as soon as they're out of the library.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see a point in staying. We could talk on the way.
Alrighty.
Let's do that.
All right, so Toby pretty much, suggests to everyone that you go back to the inn or elsewhere, and then kind of like almost immediately, as you leave the library, he calls everyone's attention and points out these droplets of blood on the ground, like right outside of the library.
Ooh, drop of blood. Ooh, drop of blood.
Right. I imagine it being more like Toby's trying to hide the fact that he knew about it, but he's doing a very poor job. Like, hey, look at this trail of blood that I just kind of found. I didn't
It's
see
almost
this
like
earlier.
immediate.
Also, just quick question. Wallace, how long does your disguise self last?
Oh yeah, I'm still dressed up as a drag queen, haven't I?
Yeah. You're not exactly inconspicuous.
Nope.
I don't care. I'm gonna keep it on. Disguise self. I'm looking up how long it lasts. I think it's an hour.
I was gonna say it seems like it should be an hour or something like that. But I don't.
An hour.
Yeah.
An hour. Basically, I've got like this pink kind of jumper on, and like Wallace is bald, so it's like this big yellow wig, blue eyeshadow and stuff. I've still got like a big beard in that, and I've got like these leopard print like leggings on with white high heels.
When Toby points that out, I'm just going to say, that's great, but I don't think Wallace and I are the best suited to go tracking. And I just sort of like look at Wallace and give him the once over.
I mean, I've got passive foot trace. I could still, if we're going.
That's stealthy, but let's talk about who is proficient in survival. Is anyone proficient in survival?
Proficient in what? Sorry, you cut out there.
Survival.
Oh, okay. Definitely not me.
Nope. No. I don't think anyone is.
Kristen, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right then. So, you're looking around at this. Sir Kay is, kind of saying, I don't think we're the best ones to track, me or, Wallace. And Toby thinks that he probably could follow the trail. So why don't you give me a roll and let me know what you get.
18.
18. All right. That's good enough. You will kind of follow this trail throughout the streets of Black Castle. Now, as I've mentioned, this area of the city of Black Sands is probably the nicest area within the city. Probably kind of like the nicest ward any of your characters have ever seen, I imagine. Being that this, is kind of like the seat of royalty. There is a big king's castle here. Lots of houses of nobility, governmental buildings, nice churches and temples and what have you. So this is a nicer area of the city. There's cobblestone on the ground. It's fairly easy for you to just continue, following from blood drop to blood drop. And you will probably travel a matter of 6-7 blocks or something like that. And the blood trail will go into this building. And it is kind of like this. It appears to be a smaller shop on the first floor of this 3-story building. And the sign hanging outside of the shop is the Old Import CO. So the Old Import Company is what the sign reads. But company is abbreviated to CO period. And it's a wooden sign. It's kind of like these... you can tell that the letters are done in kind of like a white base, but there's kind of like gilding over the top of that, so it looks like it's written in gold on the wood. Kind of like reflects the sunlight as you're looking at it. And just as a reminder, it's still pretty much earlier in the day. It's not dark outside right now. You had all had kind of like got up, had breakfast, went to the tailor, and then went to the library. So we're probably talking maybe it's noon by now. After all that happened, maybe noon 30 or 1, a little bit afterwards. So very much the day. So this sign is kind of like, catching the sunlight. The Old Import Company is where the blood trail seems to lead.
Question.
Okay.
Is there somewhere I can duck down, like an alley or a building that would have like a private washroom, like water closet kind of deal, like a restaurant nearby or something like that?
I mean, there's several buildings around here and several alleys around here as well. So you would just kind of
okay.
like... You need to let me know specifically what you're trying to do. But to answer your question, you probably could.
How long would it take me to put together a decent disguise?
Oh, are you going to go drag as well?
Kind of.
If do you have a disguise kit and you're proficient in your disguise kit, correct? Is that right?
I am.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it won't be too terribly fast, but you're also not necessarily... I mean, you may be in a rush, I don't know. But I'm guessing, depending on the disguise you're trying to do, you might be able to pull one off within 20 minutes or so.
That's enough.
A simple disguise.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is like putting on some gloves so they can't see my hands, throwing on basically like a face paint to kind of gradient my face to look like a half orc. So maybe I'm like half orc, half elf. So it's going to be like it transitions from like my natural like purple blue into a green as it rises through my face.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pull out like a pack of basically like false wooden tusks and pop them into my lower mouth. And then just very quick like makeup job around the eyes, make myself a little bit older, give myself a few wrinkles kind of deal. And then hope that the rest of my skin is covered enough that they can't tell I'm not actually half orc.
Okay. All right. Well, give me a roll for your disguise kit there.
Okay. I can't remember what it uses. I think it's Dex. Let me just find it. Oh, it just lets me add my proficiency to the roll. Oh yeah, 17.
17. Okay, so what did you say to everyone else as you were ducking off to do this, or did you just go do it?
I'm just like, give me a minute. And I just duck down a corner for like 15 minutes and just sort of, if anyone comes down the alley with me, you'll just see me pull out the bag of holding and start rummaging and just start pulling out like basically a makeup kit and like throwing on some pigment. And
I touch up my contour and that.
Yeah, it's like throwing on pigment, and then you'd see me pull out a case, and it's like a couple different sets of false teeth. And I would just like pop out the orcish ones, and they're like strictly just a lower set, so it's just the two kind of orcish tusks that are a bit shorter to look like a half orc, and they kind of thin out so that they look very yellowed because they're like wooden, but they're sort of stained and painted to look natural. And then they just kind of have like a thin plate that sits inside the lip here, and just pop them in, kind of like fake vampire fangs in some cases, where they're not like the individual ones, but like
Sure.
the really bad ones.
All right.
And then just make sure the paint job is good more than anything. That's what I'd be focusing on.
Okay. All right. So that being said, Sir Kay told everyone to wait just a moment. What is everyone doing? Chandel, what do you think Junie would be doing as Sir Kay says for everyone to wait? And then he ducks off into this alleyway.
Probably just hoping Toby's okay as he followed the blood trail, because none of us really know where it went to. But also just kind of looking around, taking in the sights, like taking mental pictures, things like that.
Well, I'm assuming Wallace, Junie and Wynn, he's gonna sort of turn around to Junie and be like, you know, Junie, it's quite recently occurred to me that you know quite a lot about me, but I don't really know a lot about you.
That's because you don't stop talking.
That's a lie. I'm quite a lot.
Wow.
I am.
You
Totally
you
self-aware.
You just divulge a lot of information about yourself. Sometimes at really unnecessary and random points.
You know, you just sound like my Auntie Moira. She all the. And it was just so crammed and stressed, and you sound exactly like her. But
The
anyway,
funny
what were
thing
you
is,
saying?
most of that cut out, and I still think I understood the full story.
Yeah. It seems as though you were sharing a story about your Auntie Moira, and relating that to Junie.
And then I'm gonna be like, anyway, what? Sorry if I didn't hear what you were saying. I was speaking. What did you say?
So what would you like to know? I mean, I can't answer truthfully.
I don't know.
But, you
What's
know.
your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite
Really?
animal? What's
So
your zodiac
simple.
sign? Yeah. I mean, we've all been traveling together for quite a while, and well, just general chat, isn't it?
Just general
It's always
chatting.
so serious. Yeah, I mean, it's always so serious. We're always dealing with eyeless zombies and saving towns and stuff. It's, you know, sometimes good to have a normal conversation. I can't believe I just said that.
How about this, Wallace? How about this? Tonight, I'll buy us both a drink and we'll have a nice conversation.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So Ginny and Wallace are kind of like having this bit of a conversation. Toby and Wynn, kind of overhear it. Kristen, is there anything in particular that Toby would be doing as he's waiting for Sir Kay, or does he just continue to follow the blood trail, or what's going on with Toby?
I mean, he would like to help Sir Kay if he would allow it, or if he just wants to transform by himself, he'll offer that assistance.
Yeah, I'm not really hiding from the party. I'm making sure the general public doesn't see me.
Yeah.
transition.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Toby's trying to like maybe help with his makeup, like your ears not covered up correctly, or
Spackle
kind
me,
of giving
spackle
him
me.
giving him like some assistance and trying to like spot him.
I just envision a really tall Sir Kay, like practically just pretty much laying down or sitting cross-legged on the floor while this rock gnome fiddles with him.
What?
That's the mental picture. Like I can see like adjusting ears and like paging like drawing on his face and all this stuff, and just this like really tall Sir Kay is just like kind of sitting
And it's like we're both working on one half of the face at a time and trying to get it.
right.
Yeah.
I really want that art now. Just in a side alley,
Yeah.
thing in your face.
That'd be cool.
And then to finish off, I'm just gonna like take off kind of like my overcloak that I've been using to keep like rain off. I'm gonna drop it in the dirt, roll it around a little bit, turn it kind of like sort of inside out, twist it up a bit, make it look beat up, throw it back on, throw the hood up, and then I'm just gonna say, all right, we should be ready to go.
All right, so pause
Yeah.
right there. Jess, is there anything in particular that Wynn would have been doing this entire time? As Junie and Wallace are talking and Toby and Sir Kay are working on his disguise.
I'd be looking around between them like, oh my god, are they really doing all this?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm sure she's, just kind of like a little surprised at, everyone, and probably, I'm guessing, knowing what I think I know about when she's probably also a little bit concerned about dinner with her parents and, these people as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so probably a bit of that's going on. Well, anyway, Sir Kay will eventually, Sir Kay and Toby will finish kind of doing Sir Kay's disguise and come back out to find Junie and Wallace just kind of having this conversation, kind of wrapping it up with, Junie looking at everyone and then finally saying to Wallace, you know what, Wallace, tonight over dinner, I'll buy you a drink and we'll have a conversation, so...
One other thing I forgot to say, I'm stowing my greatsword in my shield, just leaving a longsword belted on, and I'm pocketing my holy symbol so that it's not visible.
Okay.
And as I'm pocketing it, I'm Channel Divinity. I'm going to use Channel Divinity Emissary of Peace so that I get a +5 bonus to persuasion checks for the next 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Just make note of your channel divinity. And then you're all kind of outside of the old import company. What do you wish to do?
Hood up, I walk right on in.
Yeah, walk in.
All right.
Bling, bling.
Anybody else?
I'm
Yeah, I'll
going
walk in
to-
as well.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll walk in too. Fuck. I was gonna say I was gonna like kind of like scope out, maybe peer in some windows, be a creeper, but it's kind of weird if it's just me. So I guess I'll just walk in as well.
Okay. All right.
Now
and-
this is the entrance that like the blood trail pointed towards, right? There's no other like weird entrances around the building.
Most certainly, you can see it going up the stairs and then a couple of drops like right outside the door. So they either stopped at the door and turned around and went back, or they went inside of the building. And all evidence seems to indicate them going inside of the building because you don't see like blood trail doubled back on itself or anything like that. So
Just before we go in, I'm just gonna whisper, "Look for blood," and open the door, step inside, and if it's an import company, so I assume there's a front desk.
when you go into the import company, essentially what you walk into, and this is a windowless shop, there is the door, but it is just kind of like this plain wooden door, and you can't really see into it at all whatsoever. When you open it up, it is about a 25 by 25 foot room. You don't see any exit out of this room at all whatsoever, and when you walk in here, there is a kind of like desk with a ledger on it over in the corner, and all that is in this shop, in the center of it, is this table, and there is this kind of like green earthenware vase sitting on the table. Now, standing in the back of the shop near the table with the desk with the ledger is a kind of like smaller gentleman, appears human. He has kind of like this mustache. He's wearing sort of outmoded clothes, kind of like antique sort of looking clothes. Don't really fit with the wear that you see in the city at all whatsoever. Things that you might imagine your great-grandparents wearing or something like that. And you come in there and he just sort of looks up at everyone and, hello. Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for someone here. Looks a bit like me. You wouldn't by chance have my cousin working for you, would you? He owes me a bit of money.
Your cousin? No, I'm afraid not. I am the only person
I was told he kind of hangs out around here, does some odd jobs. Come on, you gotta help me out here. He's owed me 300 gold for the past 6 months. I gotta get it back from him.
Alright, give me a roll over there.
Definitely.
Deception is what you're doing, plus your modifier from your channel divinity function.
That's just persuasion. So if I start telling the truth a little bit more.
Okay, alright. Right now you're just functioning under deception.
Natural 20.
Okay. Well, as you are kind of like giving him this line about the orc or owing you money, 300 gold or whatever it is, he just kind of like looks at you and he's like, look, fella, I don't know what to tell you. I run this business. I do imports. People requisition things. I try to find them for them. There's no work here in my employ.
So no one directly works for you. Do you use finders for these items that you requisition?
Yeah, all the time.
Any of them orcs or half orcs?
I'm sure there's been a couple of them. What's the fella's name you're talking about?
Changes his name every couple of weeks. He doesn't like to be associated with the family. You know what I mean? He's got a bad reputation. I'd hate to see you get caught up in his bullshit.
Fair enough. Well, I can...
Any of them come by today or in the past couple of hours? I heard he was spotted in the area. I've been trying to get him so that we can talk to him about it, maybe get him some help, but he's really not doing too well.
Not today at all, it's pretty much just been me here. As you can see, I really only have one thing for sale today. Not too many people come in unless they know what they're looking for.
He's got a habit of wearing a hood up, kind of like me. We grew up together. So any customers come in looking, and I just sort of gesture to myself. Could have been him. I'm just looking around.
You gesture to yourself and you ask if anybody came in looking like you. Is that the gist of what?
Yeah, like hood up, kind of burly, looking a little sketchy, like that kind of deal.
I gotta tell you, in terms of orcs today, nobody's walked in here. I had a goblin fella in here earlier. He was looking for kind of like this older eating ware that dates back to the time of the Imperium, but I haven't seen anything like that in quite a while, and I don't even think the fella could have afforded it if you really want to know the truth. But
you own the other 2 floors as well? And I just point up because it's a 3-story building, right?
It is a 3-story building, yes. No, the top floor is kind of some storage space for the owner of the building. I do have an apartment just right above here.
And I'm just kind of like, at that point, I'll start stalling him with a bit of small talk, ask him about how his business has been doing, give him some well wishes, hope that like he doesn't get caught up in my cousin's stuff, and just sort of like throw a glance over my shoulder to the rest of the party to see how they're doing.
All right.
And see if anyone finds blood.
What's going on with the rest of the party?
I was gonna say, like, as he's talking and to the clerk at the desk, can we see? Do we see the direction of the blood trail?
I mean, it's possible that Junie does. She's looking for it. You've been following it. Again, like I said, it's fairly obvious. But, kind of like when you come within here, it's kind of like this older wooden floor that is a bit, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's worn. It's got scuffs on it, things like that. But Toby's continuing to sort of track it as he was doing, and Toby, without a doubt, will notice that the blood trail kind of like leads across the room and just sort of disappears in a corner. There's nothing else in that corner. This room, as I've already mentioned, is like completely bare except for the desk and the ledger and the table in the center of the room, holding that one greenish earthenware vase.
Toby's gonna try to like sneakily tell when, like just point it out to her.
Okay.
Oh.
Right, see when they all walked in, I'm going to make a point of like walking in last, but kind of eavesdropping. Can I make a stealth check? Notice me or not?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Sorry, like, so see how when everyone, I want to make a point of like going in last, but kind of like eavesdropping to try. I know Phil obviously dressed in drag. Can I make a stealth check to see if that person saw me or not?
I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that, but this room is like so bare that I couldn't imagine someone walking in
I mean,
from
like
outside.
standing at the door. Do you know what I mean? Like not like kind of like standing in the doorway, but kind of like hoping that he's attracted.
So like on the other side of the doorway, perhaps catching it so that it's slightly ajar and like
Yeah, so enough so I could listen.
Sure, if you're outside, there's a possibility that you could get a stealth on that. So you can give me a stealth roll if you're outside. But within the room, probably absolutely not.
His drag wall is ugly enough for people to want to ignore him.
That's pretty much the only way he'd get away with it, because like he's wearing this massive blonde wig and like wearing neon pink. There's no way he'd pass a stealth check.
Yeah.
11.
Inside.
11. Okay. All right. So Wallace is just kind of outside, sort of overhearing, what's taking place between Sir Kay and this individual that seems to be the proprietor of the old import company. And essentially he hears Sir Kay asking him if his cousin's, been by here. His cousin could get him in a lot of trouble. I don't want you to get wrapped up in him. And then the other guy just pretty much being like, no, I haven't really seen anyone like that. And that's essentially kind of what is going on as you have the door kind of like slightly ajar, listening to things.
Would I have heard about
Oh, sorry. Go for it, Liz.
Okay, so see how I'm like listening in. Would I have heard them mention a goblin fellow came in here today?
I'm sure you probably heard that.
Okay, ask your question and then get in the pick off.
Yeah. You said he's human, correct?
Yeah.
Like, very clearly, no traces of elf in him?
Not that you pick up on. No pointy ears,
I cast sleep.
You cast sleep? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And I'm just gonna put it behind him in the room so that the 20-foot radius just catches him.
Okay. Give me just a second.
I'm just gonna pray to God he doesn't have more than anything. I think it's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pray he has less than 5d8 worth of hit points.
All right. Give me a roll. Let me know what you got.
Okay. Fingers crossed here. 8, 12, 20, 26, that's 30, 38.
38. Okay. As you cast it, so what? Tell me, what are the components of sleep? What do you do?
It is. The components are verbal, somatic, and I don't use a component pouch. So it would basically be Like, I know how you would do it. He would basically take his holy symbol out and just be like, yeah, it's actually an antique that's been in the family for a little bit. You wouldn't by chance be able to appraise it, would you? And he'd sort of like whisper under his breath the verbal component and sort of like flick his wrist as the cinematic, and just the medallion would flash and the spell would go off in his face.
Okay. All right. So Sir Kay does that, and as he does it, the figure or the person's eyes, they kind of just grow heavy, and he just loses his balance, as he's lost consciousness, and begins to fall over.
Oh, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. I'm just gonna like sit him up in the chair and then place him gently as though he had just fallen asleep at the desk after a long day.
All right then. So you do that.
As he's clearly visibly falling asleep, I'm gonna turn to Toby. Like, I know you found the blood trail. Where does it go?
We have a minute.
You're muted, Kristen.
Kristen, you're muted.
Snap. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna like point it out. He was he's gonna say back to Wynn, like, I was hoping he'd get all small and sneaky, but I guess this works too.
See, at that point, Wallace is going to come. Where is he? I've had it up to here with him. He's going, and then I'm going to realise he's asleep and that he doesn't need to do anything. And he's like, oh, right. Well,
yeah.
What's happening then? Why is the clerk sleeping? What is going on?
Well, he's asleep for a minute, and we have a minute to find where that blood trail leads. So, if anyone has any points or ideas, I'm all for them because I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll be like, Toby pointed over there. The blood trail goes that way. And
Okay.
start
We'll
to
head
follow
over
it.
to the corner.
Yeah.
Can I tie this guy up in the chair? Can I gag him in that?
You could take the time to do that if you have the rope and a gag or something to act as them.
Would I be able to find something makeshift?
There's nothing.
There's
in this
literally
room.
nothing in here except for a table of us, a desk, and a
room. It's an
ledger.
interrogation room.
Yeah.
Wait, I have... Wait. I think I've got hempen rope from... I'll check if I have it.
Actually, I have an idea. Don't bother with that. Can I take him over to the door that leads upstairs?
Do you want to talk?
Just open the door, leave him on the other side, and wedge his chair beneath the door handle so he can't come back after he wakes up?
Yes.
Okay, you could do that.
Okay.
There's probably another exit to the building, but...
You carry him, I'll grab the chair.
Yeah,
thought
I'm
we were
just
gonna
like,
interrogate him.
once he's asleep, I just, like, sack of potatoes, throw him over my shoulder, because I know the spell doesn't last long, and I'm, like, chugging along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank God there's no windows in this place.
Meanwhile, Wynn's heading over to the corner the blood trail goes to and looking around.
All right. So Sir Kay takes him upstairs to what he had mentioned his apartment was, and then kind of like wedges a door so that hopefully he can't, get back in. Wynn was going to check out the blood trail. Is that right?
The corner it leads to
Yeah.
that Toby pointed out. Yeah.
Again, as she's going over there, she follows the blood trail and notices that it just kind of like disappears, about 4 feet away from the corner of the room.
Is there, like, tile floor or wood?
It's
Like,
wood. Yeah.
Peculiar.
Okay. Wynn will start looking around because this is just weird.
Okay, give me an investigation roll.
All
An
right.
investigation check.
9.
9. Okay. All right. She's looking around and just looks like the bleeding stopped right here, and the person possibly left or something. You can't find any sign of the bleeding going further.
Toby's gonna look up in the roof and rafters.
Okay, so Toby's kind of
Or
like
ceiling.
looking around there, sort of at the ceiling. Toby can go ahead and give me an investigation roll as well.
A what? You cut out.
Investigation roll.
So 23.
23. So he's looking
Nice.
around the roof of the building and not really seeing anything, but as he's kind of like scanning this corner, he looks back down to the blood and is trying to figure out what's going on. And he sees where it looks like several of the boards of the floor can actually be removed.
That's what I thought.
He's gonna like try to do some
I'm gonna say that. Yeah,
signaling.
I'm gonna say that Junie is running back at this point from locking in the
Yeah,
clerk.
we probably both
Okay.
would.
Yeah, and then see that Toby's making these random gestures pointing at the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of read them. And then just be like, oh, okay, and then just bend down and remove said floorboards,
Toby accidentally invents thief's camp.
right?
All right. So, as Junie was removing the floor board, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So,
Toby's gonna get like ready, like he's gonna be on the defense just in case anything happens.
all right.
Yeah.
So Junie reaches down. Toby was kind of like motioning to the floor. She looks down, scans it a little bit closer, and notices what Toby was pointing out. It appears as though not just like separate floorboards, but it looks like, several of them together. You can kind of like see the outline where it looks like many of them can just sort of be lifted up. You find like a little kind of
Okay.
like groove in there, and
Essentially like a trapdoor.
it's essentially
almost?
like a trapdoor.
Okay.
Is kind
Okay.
of what she thinks she's looking at. All right.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna lift it up. However, it lifts up.
So, like I was saying, there's sort of like a groove that you can get your finger into, and you put your finger in there, and you like pull it up, and it swings away pretty easily. Now, what is Junie's AC?
12.
Okay. All right.
I don't like this.
As Junie kind of like pries that away, just kind of like immediately she hears a.
What is it?
It's a trap.
It is a trap, and she takes
Rude.
15 points of damage.
Wow.
As kind of
Okay.
like she has been over pulling this trap door up, and a bolt is lodged deeply within her shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say.
All right, and then kind of like immediately, she can tell that it's leads down. There is a ladder, just kind of like right below it, and it seems to lead to a stone room underneath this part of the building.
Jeannie's gonna like not cry out in pain. She's gonna take it pretty well, but you can see that like visibly that she's in quite a bit of pain, and she's gonna be like, who wants to take the lead on this one?
As she turns around, there's this end of a bolt kind of like sticking out of her shoulder, blood beginning to pool and pour down
Yeah.
her chest.
I
He's-
will.
Toby says, "Ladies first." Pointing to
Wallace
I
is going
will-
to go down.
Wallace.
First level cure wounds on Junie first.
Well, hold on. Let's before we do that. As you're talking, let's because of reasons, let's go ahead and enter initiative. Just as these things are being said, so everybody give an initiative roll. Eric, I think you've faithfully been our initiative tracker. If you'll continue to do that, that would be great.
Yep.
I have an 11.
18.
I have 8.
And
So 11 for Win. 18 for
Wallace.
Wallace. 8 for Junie.
Yep.
And 10 for Kobe?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's see if I roll anything other than a 0. Nope. Nope.
What'd you get?
I rolled a 0.
Oh wow.
I rolled a 0 without fail on every initiative roll.
All right.
So Wallace is actually first up. So
I
he
have
makes me
I have
go-
a 7 on my end, just so you know.
Oh, good to know.
Right. Yeah, at the prompt of ladies first, I'm going to flick my wig. I'm going to strut up to the open trap door and... Did I see anything? Or is it just like...
Did you say you dropped down there, or you're looking in there?
Yeah, like I'm going to kind of like look down, start like, did I see anything like looking down it before I like just run into this?
Yeah. As you look down there, below here, there is about a 20 foot by 20 foot stone room. And as you're looking in there, there's a cloaked figure in the corner. And kind of like between you and them, there are 4 other figures that you see there looking up towards the trap door. Now, as Wallace is looking at them, it doesn't appear right. Their faces are not the faces of a human or an orc or a goblin or anything like that. They look as though they're rat men of some kind. They have these...
Even.
They have these, kind of like little pink noses, gray fur, ears.
Interesting.
Teeth out front.
I love them.
I'm going to cast command, and I'm going to get the cloaked figure to do a handstand.
You're going to tell the cloaked figure to do a handstand?
Yeah,
Okay, what's the saving throw on that?
that'll be a 15.
I
15?
think it's a wisdom save. Yeah,
Okay.
wisdom save.
Okay, what's the duration on that?
On command.
Their next
It's a
turn.
turn.
Next
Yeah.
turn. Okay. All right. So it's not quite their turn yet, but you yell for it to, or you cast your spell and tell it to do a handstand, and then we'll pause for just a moment. Is there anything else that Wallace would do on his turn?
See if I jumped down, would I be able to jump top, or is that not possible?
Would you be able to jump what?
Like on top of him, like just use my
No,
movement
there.
to get over.
He's over in a corner. You would basically be dropping down into the room, and then you would have to kind of run over toward the corner if you were trying to do that.
Well, I'm gonna drop down. Yeah, I'm gonna do that and like land and kind of like Superman up, drag, and just be at the rat people and kind of like claw at them.
All right, so you cut out a little bit, but I think you were saying you're going to drop down into sort of like a 3-point landing, and then you're going to come up and then hiss and claw at the rat people. Is that correct? Okay.
Basically.
All right. So you do that kind of like right below the trap door. Now, who's up next?
Next up is Win.
All right, what's Win want to do? You see Wallace cast some sort of spell, tell someone to do a handstand, and then just immediately drop into the trapdoor.
Okay, I guess we're doing this.
Some of us are half dead. We're doing it anyways.
How far down is the drop?
It's about 10 feet down.
Okay. Yeah, we'll drop down and cast Shillelagh on her club
Okay.
and is that multi? Ooh, and I will also cast Entangle.
Now, is Entangle a bonus action spell?
It is an action spell. Shillelagh is a bonus action.
Shillelagh is a bonus action? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So she drops down, casts Shillelagh on her club, and then cast Entangle as well. Now, what kind of saving throw? I mean, it's a dexterity, but what's the DC on your...
No, it is a strength.
It's a strength?
DC
Okay.
DC 14.
DC 14. And then for what
And
kind of
it's-
area?
It is a 20-foot square from a starting point within range.
Okay. All right.
So,
You can actually get the whole room with that.
Yeah.
but I'll do it the side of the room that the creatures are on,
Okay.
not the side that I'm on.
All right. Once again, what was the DC, the difficulty?
Sorry, what was that?
What's the difficulty on your spell once more? I forgot.
14.
14. Okay. All right. So she drops down, casts Shillelagh, casts her spell. All of these, vines or whatever, just kind of like begin to grow, out of the foundations of the floor and over on the wall and what have you. And they're kind of like wrapping around these figures that are there. Now, who's next?
Next up is Toby.
Kristen, what's Toby gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Is it dark down here?
No, there is lantern light down here.
Would you say it's dimly lit?
There is one lantern in here. It's a 20-foot room. I'm not sure. It's in a corner. Part of the room is probably dimly lit.
Okay. Well, he just wants to go down and use his one with shadows, so where he can use an action to become invisible until he moves or takes an action or a reaction. So using the dim light or some of the darkness of that room, he wants to kind of just go over to that area after he drops down.
Okay, so he drops down, sees an area in here where the where it's a little darker because it's on the other side of the room from the lantern, and then uses this spell. Now, what did you say that's going to do? That allows you to kind of like stay hidden within the shadow until you use an action or a reaction? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so I become invisible until I move, take an action, or a reaction.
Okay, all right. So he rushes down and does that. Who's next?
Next up is Junie.
Junie, you have
So-
a bolt sticking out of your shoulder. You see all of these people, all of your compatriots dropping down.
Okay, well, first of all, from the main floor, I guess, looking down into the cellar, can I see everything that's happening for the most part? Like, I can at least see a couple of whatever these are.
I mean, not without doing like what Wallace did, which was to literally duck down and stick his head in there. You know, I mean,
Okay.
if Junie is just glancing down there, she sees Wallace and Wynn at the bottom, like I mean, right under the trap door. She saw Toby
Okay.
jump down there and then dart out of her line of sight. And then in terms of like the potential combatants, she can't really get a line of sight on them without getting down there.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll drop down and I guess start shooting some arrows.
Okay.
That's what I do.
She drops down, immediately sees this one corner with a cloaked figure, and on the other side of the cloaked figure, between you and the cloaked figure, there are these other 4 figures. As I've previously mentioned to Lewis, they don't look human at all whatsoever. I mean, they're humanoid. They stand upright like a human, but it looks more like a rat. You've seen rats before, and it's these 4 figures all have the faces of a rat.
Okay. Okay.
Bear in mind that the guy is doing a handstand right now.
Yeah.
And you'll get advantage on him.
All right, then I'll go for him.
Well, he's not doing a handstand yet because it's not his turn. So,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
an
he has to
offer.
take his-
Okay.
Yeah, he has to take
Okay.
his action on his turn.
All right. Well, I guess whichever one. You said there's one that's like closer, and then the other 4. Yeah.
no, they're all just kind of like around there. I'm sure one's a little bit closer, but as you're looking
Okay.
over there, you see that
So-
there are all of these vines on the ground, and they're kind of like, wrapping themselves around these figures. I think
Okay.
you've seen something like this before with Wynn, so you can assume that maybe
Yeah.
Wynn has cast some sort of spell.
Oh yeah, but like there's none that's like closer than the other.
Not really. They're all kind of
Okay.
like in the corner of the
Okay.
room across from you.
Then, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and I'm gonna shoot at one.
Okay, all right. You'll take the one on the left then.
All right, so the first arrow is 13.
13.
Yeah.
You strike.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, let me ask this just to make sure. The bow that you're using, was that
It's a
a +1 bow? Is that
Yeah,
no.
it should be.
Is it? When
Yeah,
did
because
that
we
happen?
got a +1 bow for you back in the tomb for getting the Hag's Lucky Coin.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go through my notes then to confirm that.
yeah?
'Cause I honestly don't remember that. But
And
okay.
I thought that was the case. I just wanted to confirm it. Yes, I do believe.
I think we
Junie
might have
has-
just forgot to like actually hand out that loot, but we did get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll double check my notes, but okay, yeah, I guess it's +1 bow. Not that I really know what that means, to be honest with you.
Okay. It means you're going to add a
Yeah.
+1 to your attack roll and a +1 to your damage roll.
Yeah.
And what? Sorry.
You're going to add a
attack
plus
and damage.
+1 to attack and damage.
Oh, okay. All right. So then, okay. Well, it's a hit regardless.
Yes.
And then damage is 9. No, sorry. 13. Totally did that wrong. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So
then
Junie knocks her arrow, lets it go.
perfect. And
yeah.
then I got the 2 attack now that I'm
Okay.
at a level 5. So
Right.
the second arrow will be 25.
25 to strike.
Yeah.
Okay, that definitely hits.
And damage is 16.
16.
Damn. Longbows, man.
Right?
Mhm. All right. So
And then-
again, Junie knocks these 2 arrows and lets them loose into this one figure. Both arrows finding their way true to that figure's chest. It just kind of hits it. It stumbles back just a little bit, but doesn't fall. Who's next?
Alrighty.
Eric.
It is their turn.
Okay. Now, almost immediately, that one that you just attacked rushes across the room and bites at you, Junie. Now, I think your AC was 12. Is that correct?
Yeah. And yeah, I just double checked my notes. It is a +1 longbow.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Now, from this bite, it just sort of like bites at you, in your kind of like shoulder area right there, and you take 5 points of damage from that. I also need you to roll a con save and let me know what you get.
Oh, I forgot about this part. This part's so weird.
19.
19, okay.
Can I get
Yes.
scabies, man?
That's not good. Do I need to go get my rabies shot?
I'm not rabies, scabies, but yeah, it's not good either.
Well,
Now, in addition to that, it also comes up with a short sword
Oh, each of them gets 2 attacks.
and deals another 6 points of damage to you. So it bites at you and then tears away, and as it's tearing away, it brings up this short sword.
damn it.
You awake?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still awake. Yeah, I'm just in a lot of
No.
pain.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4.
We may have
Probably
to
a
run
lot.
from this. We may have to run from this.
Yeah.
All right, Win, what's your AC? Jess, what's Win's AC?
16.
16. Okay.
Need to get some better armor.
Natural 20. Max damage.
Oh, there.
So, kind of a similar thing. One of these rat creatures rushes across the room, and it's going to deal you 10 points of damage from a bite as it tears into your flesh.
Okay, that's not so bad on a bite crit.
Yeah, not
That's
so bad on a bite
manageable.
crit. And then it comes across with a short sword for an additional 6 points of damage. And I need you to make a Constitution saving throw and let me know what you get.
I got a 15.
15. Okay. Just a second. All right. Now, there are 2 of these other rat type figures that are just absolutely kind of like ensnared within these vines from the spell that you cast. Now, is that a concentration spell? Is my first question.
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right. So let's make a Constitution roll for your concentration.
That's a saving throw, right? Or just a constitution.
I think you make.
roll.
I haven't really used concentration very much because normally spellcasters haven't gotten hit. Eric, do you recall, or anybody else? Do you recall?
I'm pretty sure it's just a check.
Yeah, I think it's a con.
Actually-
it's not a saving throw for sure, so I think it's a con check, right? So,
Let me look. Let me look up something real quick.
When I take damage while you are concentrating on a spell, you must make a constitution saving throw.
okay.
DC equals 10 or half the damage you take, whichever number's higher.
Okay. I didn't keep track of the amount of damage. Oh, it was 6. It should have been 16 points of damage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a 10.
I definitely made that. I rolled a dirty 20.
Okay, all right. In that case, a couple of these figures are still entwined in or ensnared within all of these vines that you have cast across the room. That being said, the cloaked figure in the corner just kind of like cartwheels over and does a handstand and is standing on his hands in the corner of the room. And that is essentially what happens on their turn.
Point of order too. For them to escape, they have to use the action on their turn to make a
To
strike.
attempt to escape the
Yeah.
snare again? Okay. Then let's do that. Thank you, Eric.
No problem. Probably gonna screw us, but it's fine.
One of them gets free for sure. It just kind of like rips, all of these vines off of him. The other one is still kind of like ensnared within the vines. So, I believe that takes us to Sir Kay.
Oh, yeah, it's against her spell save DC. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just rereading the spell to be safe.
Right. The one of them definitely passed. So, yeah. All right.
Okay, my turn.
Yep.
I kept my longsword on me. Draw the longsword. Would it be an object interaction to get my shield out of the bag of holding?
I'm sure it probably would.
Okay, then I'll grab my shield out of the bag of holding, and then I will just drop down, see what's going on. Yeah, I'm just gonna go in swinging. I'm gonna head for... It's rough terrain. Can I reach the guy doing the cartwheel with 15 feet of movement? 20-foot room?
You drop down, technically 10 feet, it's 20 feet across the room. You probably couldn't get to
The
him.
entangle makes that terrain difficult terrain.
Right, because of the
so
difficult
I only have 10
terrain.
feet of movement left.
Yeah, you probably couldn't.
Okay, in that case, can I reach the one with the 2 arrows in him from Junie?
Yeah, you can definitely reach that one.
Alright, I'll carve him up. Let's do this.
All right, make an attack roll. And you're using your longsword, right?
Yeah, longsword and shield. It's a natural 19 to hit.
Okay.
For the first hit,
Give me the second.
second
Are
hit.
you doing a second hit as well?
yeah, just to see if it hits. It's a 5, so that's going to be a miss.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have a +6.
The first one definitely hits.
The second one's an 11. I don't think that.
Yeah, the 11 one misses. So,
Cool. First hit, I'm going to drop... Sure, I have 2 first level spell slots left. I'll drop a Divine Smite into him. So, it's
Now-
going to be 3d8 total.
another point of order. Just because, as your blade, strikes him, your blade is not magical.
No.
Does the Divine Smite make it a magical attack?
No, it does not. The Divine Smite damage will go through full, but the blade damage doesn't.
Okay. All right then.
I'll give you the blade damage separate then.
Okay.
Wow, I'm kind of glad I rolled low on the blade. The first D8 is... sorry, going to my attack bonus first. Damage. That is 3 points of damage on the longsword. Not counting the Divine Smite.
All right. And what about the Divine Smite?
6, 5, so 11 on the Divine Smite.
Okay. So that's radiant damage. As your blade, slashes at this creature's flesh, you notice that you don't cut into its flesh at all whatsoever. But what happens is, your blade is, glowing or whatever with this radiant energy, and you see its flesh beginning to sear and burn, around the blade. And this figure was already injured quite grievously, and just this whole kind of like arm kind of like catches flame, and it withers and it drops and screams in agony as that happens. All right.
Last in the door, but always putting in work.
Now, that takes us back up to the top of the round. I do believe that Wallace was the first to drop down. The
Yes,
figure
he was.
in the corner has performed this handstand.
So, see how when he's doing his hands, the legs will apart. I want to throw my axe in between them.
Okay. All right. Make an attack roll.
Oh my god, that's so painful.
Natural 20.
Natural 20. All right. Give me damage on it.
I don't know what a damage. I think it's a D6.
I think a hand axe is a D6.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
10 points of damage.
Okay. All right. So
And I'm gonna shout over. That was for early.
all right. So you do that, and your aim is obviously very true with that, and finds its way home. So, anything else on your turn?
Nah,
All right.
that'll be it.
That takes us to Win, I believe.
Yeah.
When you're being attacked, one of them is in front of you.
Yes, I will attack it in return.
Okay.
So a 12.
A 12 will strike. Give me damage.
Nice. Okay.
So 11 missed, but 12 hit.
Yes, 12 hit.
Yep.
9 bludgeoning and 2 piercing.
Okay. Now, and I do believe Shillelagh makes that a magical weapon. Is that correct? So,
Yes, it does make it a magic weapon.
okay. All right, there we go. So you kind of like lay into it with the shillelagh, and there's kind of like bits of bone or whatever tear away at its fur and flesh. Now, I think that takes us to Wallace next. No, Wallace already went.
Toby.
Takes us to Toby next. Just real quick, Kristen, I am aware of the time. We'll wrap this up as quickly as possible. So it's Toby's turn now, though.
So there's one doing a headstand and one attacking.
Yes, there's one doing a headstand, one attacking Win. There is another one that just broke free from like all of these vines that were ensnaring it. There is a second one that is kind of like currently still ensnared.
Okay. Yeah, Toby will step out from the shadow and try to help Win with some blasty blast.
Okay, make your attack roll on your Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast. 14.
14 strikes. Give me some damage.
Nice. Wow, that's 18.
18 damage. Wow. All right.
Yeah. And then I have a second one, 5th level, and that one is 19.
19 points of damage, or 19 a strike.
19 to hit,
Okay, that hits. Give me some damage on it.
and that one is just 6 points.
Okay.
Damn it.
What do you think happens as your Eldritch Blast fells this one?
As he steps out, he just gives 2 like yellow energy like blasts from his hands and just pushes them back. Pushes them back into the vine or the entangled vines that Win put up, and just pushes them back into that, like probably getting all the like thorns and
Sure.
everything lodged into them.
Yeah. So Toby steps from the shadows. Cast out this kind of like a couple of blasts of this arcane yellowish energy. Just immediately blast the figure away from Win over into the corner where all of those vines and things are. Now, I think that takes us to their turn. Is that correct, or is it Junie's turn?
It is Junie and then their turn.
Okay, all right. So, Junie, you were being attacked, but Sir Kay dropped down and took out the one that was attacking you. Toby stepped out of shadows from behind you, took out the one that was attacking Win. There is the figure in the corner doing a handstand, which is the cloaked figure. Wallace just threw an axe at that one. There is one of these other rat-type figures that looks like it's just freed itself from its entanglements. And then there is another rat figure that is definitely entangled still and struggling with its bonds.
Okay, I will shoot some arrows at the one doing handstand.
Okay. Give me an
And
attack roll.
I get advantage on that, right?
It's not entangled.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay, so that will be. I can't math today. Oh my god, this is so bad. Hang on a second. Nope, that's not what I want. Okay, so that's dirty 20 to hit.
the 20 would hit for sure.
And
Give me
then
damage on that.
And that is 17 for the first strike. And then the second strike is 19 hit.
19 will hit. Give me damage on that.
And that is 13 damage.
Okay. So, as Junie, releases these couple of arrows across the room with this figure doing the handstand, and Wallace had just thrown an axe, it just kind of like, its arms give out from beneath it, and it just kind of like falls to the stone floor, and these vines and thorns beneath it kind of like face first, with a sickening kind of like crunch, now.
So that's 2 down, I think?
Three.
Yeah.
Three total.
3. Cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's 2 left.
Now there's 2 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I swear to God, if I get hit again, I'm rage quitting.
All right, now this is Cirque this time. The figure that kind of like freed itself, you can tell is eyeing the trap door, kind of like right above you, but it charges at you across the room and bites into you. What's your AC right now?
18 with the shield up.
Okay.
Captain Black Sands at your service.
All right.
Or Captain Morton, I guess would be a better one.
Yeah. All right. You do take a bite for 2 points of damage, and then it, additionally is attacking with the shield, but it just kind of like, not shield, the short sword, but it glances off of your armor. So,
Am I making a con save?
yes. Did I tell you the amount of damage on that?
Yes, 2 points.
Oh, no. The modifier is 2 points. It should have been 6 points of damage. My apology. So, 4 plus 2. So, 6 points of damage. And then, yes, you make a con save.
On saves. Do. 15?
15. All right, noted. Now, there's the other one that is entangled. It's attempting to break free from its entanglements. Your save was a 14, is that correct, Jess?
I think on subsequent tries it's my spell save DC, which is a 16.
16? Okay, alright. It is still struggling with its entanglements.
I've got to break free.
Yeah, now that takes us to Cirque.
Okay, so we've got Handstander and we've got the last rat, correct? Just getting an idea.
The Handstander has
Handstander.
fallen.
Yeah.
He was attacked
I
by an
see.
axe and a couple of arrows, and just kind of
Yeah.
like dropped from his handstand head first into the stone floor and vines and thorns beneath him.
Okay. Does it appear as if he's still breathing?
There's no way
Okay,
for you
okay.
to tell that right now.
Okay.
I can speak with the dead, it's fine.
Oh, right. You can speak with the dead. Okay. Never mind then. I'm just gonna let him bleed out. I'm gonna go over
We'll just-
to. Yeah.
We'll just assume that the one that was doing the handstand has 2 arrows in the neck.
Yeah. Frankenstein style.
I love command.
All right.
Brilliant.
I'm gonna go to the one that's entangled, and I'm gonna take 2 swipes.
Well, you could take 2 swipes from the one that's entangled, but you're currently being attacked by one that is not entangled.
That is a fair point.
No,
Okay.
you can do either one, but
No, I'm low enough on health that I would rather not move. Yeah, I'll take 2 strikes.
okay.
First one is a 12 to hit.
12 hits.
The second one is a 16 to hit.
16 also hits.
Okay, so we're just gonna do. Actually, no, you know what? I'm gonna burn my last spell slot, and I'll do another Divine Smite on this first hit.
All right.
I want
Only
to
give me
make
the
sure this guy
damage.
goes down.
Just give me the damage for the Divine Smite.
Okay. It's an 8 on the first and a 6 on the second, so 14 total.
Okay. All right. And then does Sir Kay stand where he is?
Can I reach the other one?
You could run across the room, yeah.
Yeah. I know the entangle makes things a little bit weird. Yeah, I'm gonna go up to the other one.
Okay. You'll get an attack of opportunity against you.
Sure.
19 plus 23, so that's going to hit for sure.
Okay. Might actually go unconscious on this.
Okay, and that's going to be 4 points of damage.
Oh no, I'm fine.
Okay. 4 points of damage, and then give me another con save.
Con save?
As it kind of like bit into the back of your neck as you were going past.
Ooh, that's a 4. Plus 3 is 7. I'm pretty sure either way it fails.
Okay.
Chicky's got scabies.
All right. So you make it over to the room, kind of like just outside of kind of like all of these vines and stuff, within striking range of the figure that's entangled.
This is going to be a weird question. Can I shield bash to knock him prone to give him disadvantage on his strength check next time around?
I mean, you don't really have an action left to do that, I don't think.
I can shield bash as a bonus. Because I have shield master.
All right, so you did your 2 attacks and now you have a bonus action?
Yep.
I mean, if you can knock someone prone with a shield bash, you can try to do that, sure. Is that something
I
you
can
do?
either shove them, attempt to knock him prone, I believe, are the 2 choices.
Okay, yeah, you could try to do that.
Actions. Let me just double check because I want to be sure. Yeah, I can take a shove attack, which either moves them 10 feet or knocks them, depending on my choice.
Okay, all right, take your shove attack then.
Okay. That is a... Can't read that. Oh, that's an 11. So 11 plus 5 is 16.
All right, so you kind of like bash into them, but they kind of they keep their footing, as you do that. You can tell from, I mean, this particular individual, it's kind of like a human-sized thing, but it is kind of small. But nevertheless, when you kind of like bash into it, it kind of like it resists it, pretty well. So
Okay, cool.
that takes us back up to the top of the round with Wallace, yeah.
So basically, there's one that's ensnared and there's one that's like about to die.
There's one that's ensnared, and then there's one what?
That Sake was fighting, basically.
Yes. And that one's closest to you.
Okay. I'm going to... Right. I don't have... Well, I threw my weapon. And I only have 1 spell slot, which I want to save dead. I'm going to run up, and I'm going to bite the rat.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna imitate the rat as well. They probably like made kind of squeaky noise. And I'm gonna be like pretending to just obviously remaining as a dwarf. And I'm gonna bite into the rat.
Okay.
What should I do for that?
All right. So you just make an attack roll. Make an attack roll, and I guess add strength into that.
That is 12.
12. Okay. So essentially what happens is Wallace, sees this creature, and yeah, you're right. There are all kinds of noises that I haven't, really described. They haven't really said anything or whatever, but, they've kind of been, hissing and chittering or, whatever. And this one you kind of like see very near you, and you just rush up to it and like bite into its flesh, kind of trying to imitate the movements that you've seen so far, just kind of like, and just you bite into it. You don't really taste blood or anything like that, but there's like a lot of fur in your mouth, as you're doing it. And that's essentially what happens just in that immediate amount of time. Anything else that Wallace can do or would do?
I don't think so.
All right, that's going to take us to Win then.
All right, I will attack the one closest to me.
Okay, that's the one that Wallace is currently trying to bite.
Okay. 14.
14 strikes. Give me damage on it.
8 bludgeoning and 6 piercing.
All right. So as Wallace is biting on it, you just kind of like bash it, over the head. You flay bits of its flesh and fur, as you're tearing your club away from it. It hasn't quite dropped to its feet or to the ground yet, though. That's going to take us to Toby.
Yeah, he's gonna switch from this yellow energy to this skeletal hand that's gonna extend from his and try to cast Chill Touch on the one that Wynn was attacking.
Okay.
So that is 23.
That strikes. Give me damage.
Cool. 8. So that's 13 necrotic points.
13 necrotic damage. Okay. Once again, what do you think happens as Toby's skeletal, Chill Touch hand reaches out and grasps this creature? It falls. How do you think that happens is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, sorry. No, it was like cutting out. So he just like picks it up or tries to like pick it up a little bit with the skeletal hand and kind of drain the life out of it.
All right. And
it's almost like Indiana Jones, like getting skinnier, and then it just drops.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially that's what happens. Toby, kind of like, extends his hand forward, and this other kind of like spectral hand comes out, grasps the creature, possibly, by its face, around the throat, something like that. And then Toby sort of locks eyes with it and can like see the life just, draining from it as its eyes go sunken and it falls to the ground. Now, it's going to take us to Junie.
One left.
One left. Entangled.
And it's still tangled? Okay.
Yeah.
Should we capture it?
What?
I have a funny feeling that Cartwheeler was the one that had any kind of info.
Yeah. Okay. Arrows. Okay. Well, that position. It's gonna be dirty 20 for the first arrow.
That strikes.
And a 10 for the second one.
That misses. Give me a damage roll for the first one.
That is 13 damage.
Okay. One arrow misses, one arrow hits. Strikes it. Kind of cries out in pain. going to take it to that one. That one just kind of looks at Sir Kay, arrow kind of like jutting from its gut, and just looks up, all kind of like covered in these vines and thorns, kind of like holding it firmly in place, and just, I give up. Stop! Don't kill me! And I think that would be a good place for us to stop since we've run a little past 10. And then we will pick up directly there next time. Now, before we go, as usual, anyone have anything they want to say or plug before we get off here? Let's see, Lewis, let's start with you tonight.
I'm looking to start up a game soon. I've got a Discord server for it on Twitter, which is at DM Nexus. If anyone's interested, just join the server or just mail me on Discord. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
I've got 4. Oh, I've got 3 players currently. I had 4, but couldn't make it due to like schedule and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know you at least made one post on Twitter. If you make another post or whatever, I'll look out for it and try to retweet it, and to see if we can get you another player to get you started on that. So, all right, cool. Kristen.
Hello. You can just find me on Twitter, the IT Pirate Now. I also play Sunday nights on the Pro Starter channel, and I will be at Gen Con, which is next week, and I'll be running a Bluebeard's Bride game Saturday night. It will be done in time to go to some late night activities, so I'll make sure that. But I also have made some hopefully fun business cards that you guys can pick up, and I kind of put stats to Concrud. So, and I also have buttons if people want those as well. So yeah, hoping to see a lot of people there, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, obviously, I kind of commented on that comment you made on Twitter, and that was all pretty cool stuff. I definitely want a button, though, so I need to get with you about how
yeah,
to
I'll send
get
all
one
the
of those.
buttons, whoever wants them.
Yeah. No, that's cool. But one thing this reminds me of that I didn't think to ask you all before we got started, because I know you're going to Gen Con, Eric is also going to Gen Con. Is that going to mess with our game next week? Should we, are we...
No, we should be good.
So you should be
Yeah.
back and ready to play next week. Okay. All right, cool. I just wanted to check on that before we got off. So awesome.
Yeah.
Eric, let's go ahead and kick over to you real quick.
Yeah, like RJ mentioned, I'm going to Gen Con as well. I'll be repping a couple different projects. If you want to find my personal world building setting project, check out my Twitter at Eldritch Crow or worldanvil.com/Oraxis. There might be another letter in there. ORAXIS. I'm building an open setting for people to use for D&D games, stories, stuff like that. So you can pay me on Patreon for stat blocks and so on and so forth. But all the basic stuff you need to run a game in this world will all be open access. It's building slowly. I so far have a bunch of takes on the PHP playable species and some new playable species that I've come up with myself as well. One of them is Pistol Shrimp Spartans, and I am very proud of it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Check it out. If you like what I do, follow it on World Anvil, follow me on Twitter, that kind of deal. I'll also be handing out some Dice Knights ribbons for the podcast I'm a part of at Gen Con. You cannot miss them. They are bright purple and fabulous. So.
All right, sounds awesome.
Gimme.
Jess.
Nothing new this week. I've just been settling into my new place. But if I ever remember to tweet again, you can find me on Twitter at Rotia1, ROHTIA1.
All right, excellent. Shondell?
You can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Shandy Valley. Now that my work schedule and life has kind of calmed down a little bit for the next 4 to 6 weeks, I should be streaming regularly Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday from 8 until about 11 midnight-ish.
Okay. Awesome.
Eastern. Yeah.
Cool. And as usual, I am RJ Cresswell. You can find me on Twitter at RJ_Cresswell, where, I post about giveaways or painted minis or things about D&D. I also obviously do this stream with these lovely people on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I also have a second stream that I do on Thursday nights called the Tainted Lands Scourge of Anarmore, and then we also play at 8 p.m. Eastern, but just on Thursday nights. So that's where you can find me if you're interested in finding me outside of here. I don't think really anybody joined us in the stream tonight, but if you happen to watch this on YouTube later, we obviously appreciate any effort you make to engage with our stream, so thank you very much. And that's about it. I guess since Gen Con is definitely not going to mess with our gaming next week, we will plan to play next Monday night at 8 p.m. and we will pick up right where we left off with this one remaining combatant, no longer a combatant, giving up, and then you all will tell me what you do from that point forward. So thank you all very much for playing tonight. Enjoyed playing. Hope you can say the same, and I will see you all next Monday night.
Always a good time. Thanks, RJ.
All right, thank you. Good night, y'all.
Cheers.
Good night.
Hello. Bye.